All right, you and I are diving into an academy where surviving your first year is just a literal coin flip. Getting that diploma from Delay Academy, that is not just a win, it is a straight-up miracle. First day, first test, and the professor drops the hammer. Finish in 20 minutes or pack your bags, you are expelled. Panic hits the room because the runes are insane. Then rip, a sheet of paper gets torn right down the middle. Krista Warden, the supposed genius of her era, watches her entire future crumble in a single second. She thinks it was the wind. But get this, someone in this room just stabbed her in the back. Guy sitting next to her just follows the mana flow right back to its sneaky source. Invisible wind magic. The culprit is that blonde prodigy up front, grinning like he is completely innocent. Only 8 minutes left. Krista's hand is shaking as she tries to rewrite everything from nothing. She begs our main character Rain for his answers, but he just pulls his paper away. Her method? Too slow. She snaps at him, but Rain just calmly tells her the job can still get finished. That old strategy is garbage. So, he grabs the pen himself and starts to cook. But before they can even move, that blonde kid is already at the front. Meet Hubert, the elite genius of Delay Academy who thought his invisible wind magic was totally undetectable. He slams his answer sheet down on the professor's desk like he has already won the whole game. The professor triggers the analysis spell and scans the runes. The response time is okay, but not great. Honestly, this should have only taken 2 minutes max. He gets a grade C and completely loses it. He claims he was first and used a perfect formula, but then the professor drops a massive reality check on him. The professor knew about the wind magic the whole time. Hubert's face goes white with shock, and that is exactly when Rain walks up and hands over his paper. The professor chuckles, saying it is a shame they passed because he really wanted to expel them both. Rain just says if you can't handle a little breeze, you shouldn't even call yourself a mage. The professor grabs the paper and freezes. The circle isn't broken, it is just completely different. A fan-shaped circle mixed with a standard one. Nobody does that. The professor demands to know why. Rain explains it boosts water magic. Using a simple equation with those runes makes the acceleration kick in. The professor is stunned that a random student even knows that level of theory. Theory is easy, but actually doing it? Now pay attention, because the professor tells Rain to prove it. He starts the activation. He wants to see Rain fail. Suddenly, the entire paper begins to glow. A mana star flashes and Rain starts falling inside the room. Everyone is stunned, and the professor starts clapping. 13 years of teaching, and he has never seen an answer like that. Grade S. Rain doesn't even blink. He walks right past Hubert and whispers, "Next time, I'm not letting it slide." So, how did a kid with 0 credentials humiliate the best schools on day 1? Stick with me, because we are rewinding 300 years to the Empire's Magic Tower. Meet Lin, the youngest mage in history who honestly couldn't care less about the rest of the world. A 4-star slum orphan who got dropped into a library and just decided to never leave. He was chasing 7 stars until a silver-haired girl walked in and ruined his peace. She called his name 3 times while he just ignored her. She teased him, dodged a literal fireball, and then accidentally backed right into a massive bookshelf. He got buried in books, and he actually smiled. Her name was Esther, a warrior living on borrowed time. She knew her time was short, but she wasn't about to spend it hiding away. She was gathering heroes to save the world, but Lin asked if that was even fun. He told him it was for the world. He didn't join for heroism, he joined because of her. This party was absolutely stacked. Every single member was at the top of their game. Lin was the youngest, but his potential was unreal. Look at those smiles. Looks peaceful, right? A tragedy was waiting. During their final battle, Lin was hit with a deadly abyss poison. There was no cure, but he didn't quit. He carved an immortality seal directly into his heart. His body froze solid. He promised Esther he'd return once his body finally finished healing itself. She promised to wait while he turned into a popsicle. And trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where a legendary mage just wanted the truth but woke up 300 years later. Our main character, Rain, wakes up in a stranger's body and wanders right into the local public square. He sees 4 statues of his old friends with their death dates carved in stone. But don't be fooled, Rain isn't some lucky kid passing a magic test. He's the original legend who actually invented the formula his entire class is currently using. The world worships him as the Saint Mage, but he has to keep that secret. After class, Krista pulls him aside, looking pretty embarrassed about something. She thanks him for earlier, but Rain plays dumb and asks her to repeat it with a totally straight face. Turning beet red, she snaps at him to stay humble. She promises to pay him back, reminding him they're actually supposed to be rivals. He points a finger right at Rain. Students walk by gossiping about Professor Owen giving out an S grade. They assume it's for Hubert, but here it was actually Krista, which honestly makes total sense to them. They also mention the big paired test. Krista got lucky and teamed up with that famous academic genius. Now pay attention here. The next day, Rain corners Krista to collect on her promise and even asks her what floor the girls' dorm is on. She says his room is probably on the top floor thanks to his high scores, mocking him for showing off so much. He shoots back that she's the one who called people shallow for making promises they can't actually keep. She angrily tells him to just wait a bit longer. As Rain heads inside, students gossip about him being the top-ranked student and the oldest son of the Elworth family. Rain stands before a door, wondering if this is actually his new room. Holding his amulet, he unlocks it and realizes he's got a fancy private room. Checking the desk, he thinks of his old magic tower days. Even in his past life, he was always stuck in rooms like this, doing nothing but studying magic. For a second, his mind drifts to Esther. Lying on the bed, he realizes that besides his first class, there's not much to do. He considers sneaking into the Vatican to find his old remains, but infiltrating that place with this identity would be tough. He tries casting a spell with complex magic circles, but it fails. Looks like he's not quite ready for 4-star magic just yet. Suddenly, an owl lands on his window and startles him by dropping off a wooden box. Rain wonders if his father sent this strange gift. Inside are 2 books, but he freezes when he realizes one is the secret diary he entrusted to Esther. Suddenly, a wave of pure shock runs through Rain's entire body. Whoever sent this knows his real identity. Meanwhile, Krista is pushing her limits at the Magic Training Center. Okay, let's pause for a second. While Krista fights monsters with only 15 seconds left, her friend asks if something good has happened lately. You know where this is going. Krista claims nothing happened and asks why she's asking. Her friend says she seems way more upbeat than usual. With 5 seconds left, she asks if it's because she ran into Rain. She wonders if something happened between them, which makes Krista visibly nervous. Annoyed, Krista says she's just irritated, seeing his face every day, so she's simply blowing off steam during this training. Her friend looks thoughtful, knowing Krista isn't fooling anyone with that act. She figures the rumors about Rain helping Krista during the exam are actually true. It's surprising because the Rain she knew as a kid wasn't like this at all. Back at the dorms, that blonde guy slowly walks down the hall. Suddenly, a guy mocks him as he passes, calling him the C-grade loser. Everyone else just ignores it because they already know what this guy is like. Hubert warns him to stop or he won't wake up tomorrow. Logan tells him to relax, mocking him by saying he almost peed himself laughing when he heard about that pathetic C grade. He adds that even Krista got an S rank, despite having total sandbags like him holding her back. Hubert just ignores him and starts walking away. But as he's leaving, Logan brings up Rain, asking if he's really as cowardly as all the rumors say. Rain is still better than Hubert. Hubert fires back that Logan has muscles for brains and asks if he's actually looking for a challenge. Logan just sneers and replies that yeah, that is exactly what he's doing. They start glaring at each other, but a red-haired woman suddenly stops them. Without looking up from her book, she asks if they're done, since other people are trying to study. Lillian's a postgrad, and Logan plays it off as a joke. You and I both know this isn't over yet. Alright, you and I are about to watch Rain make some serious enemies. Lillian thinks Logan is just wasting his potential. After all, what is the point of bullying people weaker than you? Hubert steps in, telling Logan to back off before he handles Krista and Rain himself. If Logan tries to interfere, he is going to be the first victim. Logan slams the door, fuming and calling our guy a total fool. He punches the wall, wondering how Rain even got this far. Rain spent 3 whole years working under Professor Scalzi, and he actually earned that spot. For an unranked student, that should have been an impossible achievement to pull off. Back in his room, Rain starts reading that mysterious book. The first part covers Lynn's life story. The second section details combat styles and magic. But even Rain cannot quite grasp the logic. Why would anyone send this and not reach out? It is already 11 p.m., and nobody has come forward. He figures it is time to kill the lights before the housemaster catches him, reaching for the switch. Rain looks at the book one last time. Suddenly, a Rudian leaps out of the pages, leaving Rain totally stunned. It is ancient Rudi magic from the old school. Rain thinks it might be his old creation, but it is actually twice the size. Still, surviving for 300 years is a massive feat for any spell. He wonders who owns this power. Suddenly, the creature lands on his hand, reporting his unique magic research is already at 37%. Now, pay attention here. This window changes everything. Rain is frozen because this is his old sage-level research from centuries ago. Those 12 test rooms he abandoned 300 years ago are somehow still active, and making progress at 37%. But a 4-star spell tracking a 6-star one should be impossible. How could Rudium even monitor that kind of power? He just grins. If this is real, then sticking to his difficult path was the right choice after all. If he keeps pushing, he might reach the ultimate truth. The hope is so strong he completely forgets the sender. Grabbing his robe, he decides it is finally time to get back to work. Outside, it is pouring. Down south, the mountains keep things warm even in a storm, unlike the freezing northern regions. Rain just hums to himself as he strolls through the downpour. He reaches a secluded spot, hoping he can find a place to let his magic loose without limits. A green-haired woman appears, suggesting the battlefield is the perfect place for a mage to go wild. Dorm supervisor explains the battlefield is a massive training ground designed for the most powerful magic. It is covered in high-level protection, so you can cast whatever you want without worry. Just use your student ring to enter. He taps it, and the wall of fire parts like it is nothing. The system welcomes him to 30 available rooms. The supervisor waves him off, telling him to have some fun. Rain picks room 15, a flash of light later, and he is standing in a completely empty training hall. I know what you are thinking, target practice time. Rain summons a 2-star monster and gets ready to rumble. He opens the book and tries the U-rune triangle, but it just falls apart immediately. Super weird. Looks like basic 1-star magic is not going to cut it here. He tries again, this time weaving 3 triangular runes together. It looks like alchemy as he smashes his fists for an explosion, but it does 0 damage to the monster. Rain is starting to get seriously annoyed. Hubert is watching from the shadows, scoffing at what he thinks is trash-tier magic. The kid cannot even cast right. Flame magic is supposed to be loud and violent, but this was quiet, like a total beginner failing his first spell. Hubert walks away, convinced the rumors about Rain being a top assistant were nothing but a lie. Our main guy doesn't stop. He blasts magic until the monster finally cracks and shatters into pieces on the floor. He sighs, calling it a total failure. The U signature was supposed to melt the target from the inside out. That was the goal, but it took 30 seconds just to kill a weak 2-star golem. Way too slow. Is it a problem with the symbol's design or just some bad math in the theory? Rain just smirks. He has got all the time in the world to solve this, no matter how many failures. He keeps grinding, eventually tweaking the symbol. Rudian does not just detect magic nearby, he does much more. And trust me, that helper is absolutely legendary. Trust me, you and I need to watch this research hit 0.1%. He questioned if it was the theory or just the refined rune, wondering if there was a deeper meaning to this specific training style before moving on. He still had plenty of time, but a sudden, violent gust of wind caught his attention. Rain realized it was Hubert, likely just some random rookie from the famous Raheen Academy. Bats swarmed the blonde guy, but with one massive punch, he shattered the monster into tiny pieces. Moving at lightning speed, he kept attacking until every single monster was totally wiped out. Rain was impressed, thinking Hubert might actually be someone worth keeping a close eye on. But then our protagonist noticed something weird about the guy's movements, just as the scene shifts to the Academy for a magic theory lecture. Spellcasting was split into 3 steps, setting the circle, engraving runes, and the final mathematical calculation. Out of those, most mages struggle with that 3rd step, since a single math error at any point usually ends in total disaster. To stop them from blowing up, the legendary archmage Lin created a formula called Lin's discriminant. Now pay attention, because he's giving them a sample problem to solve using this legendary formula for the very first time. The teacher gave them 10 minutes, calling the formula easy and saying no idiot should ever fail to solve it. Starting the timer, the instructor told the entire class to begin. Looking at the paper, Rain wondered who leaked his formula since none of his classmates should know it. Besides, they could barely handle basic addition and subtraction, so there was no way they taught it. Still, one person came to mind: Tina, that kid who follows him around as his disciple. Our hero thought maybe she shared the formula as something Lin invented, but he quickly dismissed that since it happened over 300 years ago. Just then, Chris approached him, and Rain asked if she was struggling, offering to take a look. He snapped back, calling it ridiculous for him to doubt a genius like Krista Warden. Suddenly, the professor glared with a deadly look, forcing her to apologize and stay quiet. Rain asked what she wanted, and she nervously handed him a fancy box that turned out to be cookies. She claimed she made them using the extra time from her magic training. Rain started to ask why, but she cut him off, saying he already said she owed him. You and I both know those aren't real cookies. When he opened the box, they looked exactly like burnt charcoal. Krista kept rambling while totally flustered, so Rain asked if she seriously considered those things cookies. Krista said yes, and Rain jokingly asked if she used mud instead of flour, making the professor shut her up. Meanwhile, a student mentioned that Lin really was a pure genius for inventing such a formula. Hearing all that praise from the students, Rain felt like he was floating through a field of flowers. They even called him the reincarnation of an angel, making Rain beg them to stop in his head. Krista wondered why Rain's face turned red, thinking he might actually be shy over a few simple cookies. She thought that even though he always acted like he knew everything, deep down, he still had that side to him. The teacher walked over and called her a primate who never even showed up to class. She defended herself well, and he offered a special lesson, but then the bell rang and the teacher told them they should finally hand in their answers. While checking the board for available clubs, Krista asked which one Rain was planning to join. Krista mentioned joining the Magic Volleyball Club, claiming that descendants of magic bloodlines must keep their dignity by playing the game. Our protagonist asked if she was serious, and she admitted she only recently found that out herself. Raymond asked what volleyball had to do with dignity, but just as Krista started to explain, he cut her off to ask about a specific item, eventually ignoring her entirely and walking away to check the other clubs. Delight offers various clubs meant for interaction and competition between all the students. That is exactly their purpose. Among them were combat magic, a fire attribute specialization, and even a festive or decorative category club. Clubs consist of students with shared goals, and they even get funding for their activities. Trust me, you and I will have to wait and see which research environment he finally picks for himself. Stick with me while we check out the epic spots Rain wanted to see. But with Krista buzzing around his ear, he could not even concentrate. He keeps yelling, trying to push him toward the Magic Volleyball Club, asking if Rain's father had not mentioned that people from the Magic bloodline were expected to sign up. Rain says even if that is true, it is not a problem because his father is not going to interfere with any of his personal decisions. Krista's friend argues that joining is a point of honor and that the Magic Volleyball Club is a legitimate way to represent his bloodline. Rain disagrees, saying it is not mandatory and that the Magic Sculpture Club looks way more interesting. Then there was the local Magic Development Club. Rain recalls how back then, people were just struggling to survive. But peace finally arrived, and slowly, everyone got the chance to chase what they actually liked and cared about. Esther always promised him that the world would become a truly prosperous place by the time he finally grew up. She hoped Lynn would be able to protect those lives. Seeing Rain lost in thought, Gertrude snaps at him, asking if he is even listening. Without saying a single word, Rain just starts walking away from them. When they demand to know where he is going, he says he is checking out the development club. Gertrude is baffled, since Magic Volleyball is basically the ultimate social scene for high-class mages in this world. With a sigh, she says the Lewick family glory ends with Lord Rain. The rivalry with the Page family that lasted over 100 years is ending with Lord Rain. Then, she suddenly realizes something. If the Page family's eldest daughter vanished after that incident, and now the Elwood family house falls, the balance is gone. With an intense, almost glowing hostility, she realizes that this would be the perfect time for a brand new era led by Krista herself. But when she looks for the girl, Gertrude notices she is gone. In total disbelief, she wonders if Krista actually chased after Rain. And yep, just like she feared, Krista is following Rain right now. Now pay attention here. As Rain is about to open the door, he hears a loud and heated argument coming from deep inside the local Magic Development Club room. One guy is shouting that he refuses to accept those terms. The other says rules are rules, the strong take everything. And that is just how things work in this club room. The arrogant guy is Logan, acting all cool while telling the other kid to hand over the club room. Seeing the drama, Rain asks who he is. Krista explains it is Logan, a junior from the Chihak Academy. Rain repeats the school name, and she sighs, explaining they are a bunch of martial arts fanatics. Logan taunts the kid, asking if he actually has the guts to settle this with a duel. Logan trashes the place, saying a club like this will not be missed since nobody cares about a local magic development group anyway, watching like a nosy neighbor. Krista says this happens a lot since clubs need rooms for their activities, and taking one from others is the only way if none are free. Rain asks if magic duels really settle everything, and she confirms it is the most efficient way. She changes topics. You and I both know Rain hates drama. He tells her he is not going to sign up for anything that sounds annoying. The guy argues that studying math or making academic breakthroughs is not the only reason why magic actually exists in their world. Logan asks why it exists then, and the guy says from the bottom of his heart that academic progress is what pushes magic forward. But fields like agriculture and disaster relief are being totally ignored by mages right now. He believes that if they use magic there, they could finally wipe out things like poverty forever. Logan snaps back, claiming magic alone is never going to solve those problems. The nerd points out his club was built by upperclassmen to fix the world for the people who are suffering today. He refuses to hand the room over, but Logan just laughs, asking if he is serious since archmages would have done it already. Logan grabs him by the shirt. Logan asks how a kid who cannot even protect a club room against a freshman thinks he can save everyone. The smirk, he mocks those seniors for having zero results to show for all their hard work. Logan keeps pressing, asking if he actually believes in that fake prophetic research. Since the guy will not even dare to face him in a duel, Logan finds the whole situation annoying and totally pathetic. You have to wonder, is it better to help some strangers or the person standing right in front of you? Alright, you and I are jumping into a story where bullies rule, until someone new steps in. Logan has this poor kid by the shirt, mocking him for being terrified. Logan asks if the kid is even awake, then sneers that there is nothing left to do but help him open his eyes the hard way. He is about to slam him into the pavement, but Rain intervenes with a lightning-fast electric spell, forcing Logan to release his grip. Letting his aura flare up, our main character asks if Logan would rather have a real magic duel instead of just picking on a helpless kid. Logan glares at Rain, demanding to know who he is. Rain just shrugs and mentions he is the latest member to join the club. After a long session, the progress rate finally crept up from 37.1 to 37.9%. Rain wonders if magic can really solve everything. It is not like every single thing in this world is possible just because of mana. Magic has its limits, sure, but I think it could still create a literal oasis right in the middle of a scorching desert. It could save thirsty travelers. He remembers Esther, who once asked him to invent easy spells anyone could use to help those in trouble and make daily life easier. Logan stares at the main character with pure hatred, clearly annoyed by this random guy appearing out of nowhere. Then he flips his expression, saying with a fake smile, "Oh, so you were just a new member." He spots Krista behind Rain, and those familiar red eyes definitely catch his attention as he realizes who she is. Logan steps closer, claiming the kid said something stupid before mocking himself for his bad habit of thinking out loud in front of everyone. He looks at the kid and says he was actually coming to say hello, but then asks if Rain really suggested a magic duel. With a smug grin, he asks if he heard right. Calmly, the main character just says yes. Now, pay attention, because this is where the stakes get insane. Logan says if Rain is serious, they should settle this right now. Laughing, Logan asks if Rain actually thinks he can win. Rain just fires back, asking if he is just too scared to fight. Rain even offers him a massive advantage, saying he won't use any magic at all during the fight if Logan is that worried. He will only use 3 basic club spells. Logan is stunned, asking if this guy is actually for real. Confidently, Rain says Logan's behavior shows he thinks he can't lose anyway. Logan scoffed, calling it pure stupidity rather than a failure. He covers his mouth, pretending to misspeak again, then reminds Rain that new members need 3 days for approval before they can officially join. So, at this point, it was just a personal challenge between them. Rain tells him to cut the act and just get to the point. Logan tells the club leader that if Rain wins, he will surrender the room and keep bullies away himself. But if Logan wins, the main character has to sign a form and drop out of school forever. Logan laughs, feeling like he finally found a wall he can't climb. Just then, Krista, who was listening from the hallway, bursts through the door, yelling that Logan is crazy because the deal is completely unfair. Logan just tells the busybodies to shut their mouths. Rain actually agrees, telling Krista not to get involved. She asks if he even realizes the massive trouble he is getting into. Staring Logan down, Rain says it doesn't matter because he's going to win. He tells Logan to just pick the time and place. He is ready whenever. Laughing, Logan says since he's so confident, he'll bring a teacher along to act as the official judge. Trust me, you and I are about to see a showdown at the Dragon Blood Arena today at 6 p.m. sharp. Walking past a stunned Krista, Logan smirks and says he will be waiting to see if the kid can back up his big talk. Heading through the halls, Logan thinks he caught a big fish today that will make the principal and elders very happy with him. He figured today was going to be epic. Krista calls out to Rain, asking if he's lost his mind getting into a high-stakes magic duel like this. Opening a book, Rain just says he's a freshman. She tells him to seriously stop messing around. Rain ignores her and grabs more books. She turns away, calling herself an idiot for worrying while telling him to do whatever he wants. Watching her walk away, Rain wonders why Krista is so angry. The club leader stands up, saying it makes no sense for Rain to do this since nobles don't usually get into duels. Rain notices something odd. The leader has a dragon ring with open wings, which is strange for a guy only in his 2nd year. Putting that aside for now, Rain asks why he thinks that. The leader explains there is way more to lose than gain. He admits he is more confused than thankful, asking why Rain helped. Rain says he didn't mean to help, but did it for a promise. The guy is confused, but still grateful. Still, he says Rain is underestimating Logan. Rain asks if this guy is really that impressive. So, you and I have to ask, is Rain ready for a mage king who specializes in long-range magic? We're about to find out. Plus, you and I need to realize this guy has a 90% win rate in duels. Sitting there, the club nerd says Rain is in deep trouble for talking without thinking. Cleaning his glasses, he admits he might have pushed Logan too hard over a tiny club. He explains he grew up in the countryside where villagers saved every penny for his tuition. He just wanted to give back and improve his home. That is why he started magic research. But life did not go as planned, and the constant pressure just made his anxiety skyrocket. He stayed for personal reasons but ended up with nothing. It feels like God wants him to quit. Chuckling nervously, the leader stands up and says he will take on this duel alone. Rain shuts that down immediately, looking dead serious while asking what is so pathetic about trying. Grabbing a book, Rain reminds him he already accepted the duel and asks to borrow some magic texts. As he heads out of the club room, he promises to bring them back soon. The leader tries to stop him, but Rain asks if he knows why Archmage Lin started magic. To the confused leader, he explains it was just to survive. Benny understands that everyone starts magic for personal reasons. Out in the halls, every single student was whispering and staring the moment they saw Rain. Now watch this. The rumor is spreading faster than fire, and things are getting completely out of hand. Just then, a voice calls out to him, saying they finally found where he was hiding. Rain turns to see Aelin, looking sweaty and totally out of breath, asking if he is okay. The boy greets her without any hostility, but before he can say another word, she lunges forward and locks him in a painful armhold. She says she is losing sleep over his mess. She heard about the duel and hopes it is fake. Rain admits it is all true, which sends her into a crazy, hysterical laughing fit. She jokes that her nephew is a troublemaker who needs a drink, while Rain yells for his life. He lets go, telling him he is being dramatic since Logan's fists will hurt way more. He sighs, and in his usual slow way, Rain asks if she was actually worried. She whips around and yells, asking if she looks like some pathetic aunt who worries and checks on a guy like him, telling him not to get the wrong idea while flicking him on the forehead. She tells him he will only learn his lesson after Logan gives him a real beating. Galen turns to leave and Rain apologizes, saying he did not realize it was something he was not supposed to do. Still, he gives his word that he will not bring any shame to their family. His aunt admits family honor is on the line now, and he could even get expelled, but she is actually just pissed off at the people who laughed at him like he was completely useless. Turning back with a proud expression, she tells him that since he started this fight, he better crush that guy because the Elwood name is riding on his performance. He has to dominate so hard that nobody dares to challenge him again. You and I are finally at the arena. Rain remembers his aunt's words and knows this was his plan from the start. Meanwhile, everyone at school is running to watch the fight. It is a useless noble versus a brute. Two teachers watch, wondering who the other supports. Is she rooting for Logan, or is he backing his own student, Rain? The teacher says status, bloodlines, or education do not matter to him at all. He is just going to support whoever is stronger. She laughs, saying that is classic him. The referee, Theon, steps up to start the show. Since this magic duel is officially sanctioned by the school, the loser has to follow whatever conditions the winner sets, according to Academy rules. With the rules set, he commands both fighters to step forward into the ring. Logan struts up, tossing his cape aside with massive ego. Rain just watches him with pure disgust. People comment that Logan definitely came prepared, but they wonder if this is complete overkill for some washed-up noble. Krista is busy watching the fight when Gertrude suddenly finds her. Nervous, she tries to make it clear that she is definitely not worried about him. She claims she is only here for the show. Gertrude just smiles, knowing the truth. Elsewhere, a teacher worries because apprentices need a long time to cast their spells. Close combat fighter like Logan is a nightmare. She wonders how the boy can possibly win. Suddenly, everyone is dead silent because Rain just pulled a freaking broom out of his cloak. Trust me on this. Logan mocks him, laughing that he thought it was a staff, but it is just a broom. Stick with me because everyone is laughing at our main character for bringing a literal broom to a magic duel. Krista is just disappointed. The referee is baffled, but Rain just says he borrowed it. At least he finished the cleaning on time. Logan starts acting smug, asking if he is begging for mercy now. A broom after all that confident talk? Man, talk about a major downgrade. Even the muscle head mage tells him to just stop before he embarrasses himself even more. Rain just fires back, asking since when did he start winning with words. Logan gets so furious that the ref has to intervene. Judge steps in to confirm the terms before things get ugly. If Logan loses, he is a guard for the development club. If Rain loses, he is out of the school for good. Both of them accept the ruling without any complaints. There is no turning back now. They both confirm they are ready. Theon activates a spell and tells everyone to back off. The duel starts in exactly 10 seconds. A countdown begins in the air. Everyone rushes over to witness the carnage. Ellen is told she can skip the work to watch, but she says she is not going anywhere. Her assistant thinks she is being weirdly calm, which honestly just makes Ellen even more annoyed. The assistant immediately gets super nervous. Looking out the window, Ellen just smiles. She thinks he might be a sage. The outcome is already decided anyway. Timer hits 0 and Logan immediately acts like a jerk, ripping off his bandages for show. He tells Rain to get a good look because he is getting kicked out today. He activates a secret technique that covers his body in glowing lines. His strength is surging now. There is a core inside his chest. Hubert is impressed by the speed of the activation. One mistake could have destroyed his organs, proving the kid is one of the school's top talents. Rain stays calm with his broom while Logan screams that he will end this in 10 seconds flat. Our hero sighs as the guy charges. Watch closely, because Rain is not even moving. Logan gloats that even if he moves, he is finished. That strengthening spell creates an explosive magic barrier on his skin that deals massive damage on impact. There is simply no escaping. He is about to totally crush our main character, but the second he swings, his arm gets knocked away by a simple spin of the broom. Logan panics as he is hit again by another spinning strike. This is not going as planned. Logan goes flying through the air as the professor wonders if that was a legendary staff technique. That specific move made the school famous over 300 years ago as a major power. It was created by the great mage Lin because mages needed to fight close range. Rumor says a heroine helped her. The professor is dying to know how he learned it. The blonde teacher notices something even crazier. That old broom didn't even snap in half. You and I can tell this is magic, because a normal broom handle would have shattered instantly. Seriously, who even is this kid? Rain sighs while the entire crowd loses it over Logan getting launched. Logan spits out blood in total disbelief. He's being wrecked by a useless noble with a cleaning tool. Rain asks him what happened to that 10-second promise. He says beating up a junior is boring, so he'll finish in 6. Taking his stance, he tells Logan to bring everything he's got. Logan stomps the ground in a rage, cracking the arena and throwing Rain off balance. He kicks up sharp rocks to distract him. Rain blocks them easily, but suddenly loses track of where his opponent went. He blocks a sneak attack from behind, not realizing Logan is actually hovering right above him. Logan drops down with a massive flying kick, creating a huge explosion of dust. Suddenly, Logan starts sinking into a patch of mud. Everyone is confused until Rain explains that was just a 1-star spell for plowing fields. Standing on the rocks, he tells them that spell can also be used to stop floods. Trust me, you and I just witnessed one of the most disrespectful wins in history. Everyone is stunned. Teacher thought, watch this. He noted that staying high on the platform was the perfect strategy to shut down Logan's crazy abilities. From his view, Ray saw the attack coming, turned the earth into mud, and completely snared Logan's feet. To everyone watching, the fight was already over since Rain was clearly dominating the entire arena. But then, our protagonist suddenly hurls his broom like a spear, leaving the entire crowd in absolute shock. Even Logan was left staring up at him, totally and completely lost. Christy screamed at the kid, asking what he was thinking and telling him to just finish it with a long-range spell. Down in the mud, Logan wasn't done yet and started gathering every bit of his remaining strength. As the broom fell, he launched like a rocket, smashed it to pieces, and charged Rain with a heavy punch. But right before the hit landed, Logan was stopped cold by massive tree roots that our main character summoned. Pay attention here because that spell literally brings dead plants back to life. Logan finally realized the broom throw was a genius trap to get the wood close enough to bind him. Rain said that as promised, he only used 3 spells total, and then asked if they should just call it a day right then. Realizing he was about to lose, Logan started cursing him out, unable to accept such a humiliating defeat in front of everyone. He kept struggling to break free, making our hero wonder if he'd accidentally used a bit too much magical power there. He figured it was just sticky because it was a vine, but admitted the spell still needed some work on the controls. Rain commented that Logan looked like he was in serious pain. Still, he told him not to worry since it would be over soon. Holding a branch, he pretended he'd jab Logan's eye. But at the very last second, he swerved, turned away, and just tossed the branch to the side. Logan was furious, demanding to know why he didn't finish the fight after all that big talk. Before he could keep whining, Ray told him the battle was already over. Since he'd lost, he should just shut up. Rain added that Logan now knew how much it hurt to get hit, so he should probably stop being a bully. You and I can see it in his eyes. Logan finally realized someone was actually showing him mercy for once. Watching the magic dissolve, Rain noted that the spell lasted a long time and had plenty of good practical uses. Feeling a bit bored, our protagonist remembered he still had to officially finish the duel after all. One side had to surrender or pass out. As Logan fell, Rain blasted him with one final wind spell. His fingers still smoking, the kid joked that the match was already decided, so that shouldn't even count as an attack. Rain looked over at the judge, who grabbed his radio and announced that the winner was Rain from the Luke family. As soon as the words left his mouth, the entire crowd erupted into cheers. Krista looked incredibly relieved and happy. Looking back, Rain saw someone approaching him while leaning against the arena wall. It was the club leader, thanking Rain for everything and saying he had no idea how to repay such kindness. Our hero asked what kindness he was talking about, and the kid tried to explain himself, but Rain cut him off, saying he could feel the leader's raw determination in every single spell he'd casted. He told him firmly that all his hard work definitely hadn't been for nothing. Realizing he'd talked too much, Rain apologized and asked if he could make just one small request. With a smile, he asked the guy to keep creating spells for the local area so Rain wouldn't be needed anymore. He truly believed the kid could do it. As the leader cried tears of joy, Rain walked away wondering what Esther would have said in a situation like this. He figured he should stop overthinking it. After all, he wasn't Esther and never would be. Still, Rain hoped he'd kept some dignity. That night in the dorms, Logan woke up to the sound of people gossiping about him. They couldn't believe the result. It's not every day a supposedly useless noble destroys a genius fighter like Logan. When he finally sat up, the guy was hit with a massive headache. The professor standing by his bed asked how he felt after dragging the entire school's reputation through the dirt. Sweating bullets, the kid tried to make an excuse, even calling the professor his big brother. Grinding his teeth, the professor snapped that he should be called Professor here, which sent the kid into a panic. With a deep sigh, the professor told Logan to take a break. Terrified, the kid said his brother would get beaten by the elders. And that's where we leave it. The professor says he's no genius. All right, you and I are about to see if this self-proclaimed elite can actually handle the truth. Voice trembling, the kid hangs his head and says no. So the professor asks what he knows about Scalzi Lewick. He reveals the Rivendell students saw Rain as the Legend's assistant for 3 whole years, leaving him stunned. He adds that if the heartless Scaly kept him around that long, Rain's skills must be the real deal. Furious, Logan refuses to accept the eldest son of a family acting this way. Ignoring his brother's warnings, he refuses to listen and swears he will take the kid down during their next fight. The professor asks if he is stupid, noting that the kid's stubbornness hasn't changed even after he got beaten. He asks what Logan even sees in the boy to call him such a disgrace. Logan was the one who lost and got spared. Still, if that is the only conclusion he can reach, his brother says he can do whatever he wants. Leaving the room, the professor reminds him to make sure he actually follows through on that bet they made. Alone now, Logan tells himself he was not scared and only stayed quiet out of respect for his brother. Now, watch closely as we jump back 15 minutes before the duel, inside the largest library in the entire empire. He thought it was strange that the biography and diaries of Lin were just handed over to him. He asks the secretary where he can find more books exactly like the ones he is holding now. Next, she hands him 2 books, one about the life and feats of the archer Kaise, and another for the fire dragon priestess, Friede. Staring at the books, he recalls a bet with the priestess. Smirking, she suggested they bet on whose biography would turn out thicker. But Lin looked at her like she was crazy, asking why he should care about some ranking made by strangers. Mage tries to provoke him, asking if he is just scared to bet against the legendary priestess, Frey. Like a total kid, he falls for the bait and accepts, saying the outcome was already obvious anyway. Esther, currently training with a stone balanced on her sword, turns and says she is placing her bet on Lin. Frey asks why she always chooses the boy, and Esther simply says it is the most obvious choice. Walking over, Lin asks for the real reason, and with a smile, she says it is for many reasons. Our protagonist gets suspicious of her dodging the question, so she admits that because of her bloodline, she won't live long. Also, Kaise was the oldest, so he would be next. And Frey's situation was not that different either. But since Lin was young, she believed that out of everyone, he would be the one to survive the longest. That is why his book would end up being the thickest. She hoped that even if the future was uncertain, they would all see his biography one day. With the book in hand, he thinks about the irony of being the first to die, silently congratulating the priestess on winning their little bet. Putting his companions' biographies side by side, our protagonist realizes that the book for Kaise was actually the thickest. Reading the archer's book, Rain is surprised he founded an archery school and trained so many disciples. The man eventually married and had descendants. Smiling, the boy thinks his friends must have lived very happy lives. But wait, check this out. While looking through the fire dragon priestess's biography, all records suddenly stop in 1168. It said she led the Republic for a long time as their priestess, but after that point, nobody knew where she went. She only reappeared in 1200 when the Witch Association officially declared that she was dead. But that really bothers Rain, because for someone who loved the spotlight, dying so quietly just does not make sense. Still, he thinks maybe it is possible. People change, right? But he snaps the book shut, deciding no way. He knew Frey better than anyone, and that kind of ending was impossible, so something bad must have happened. Suddenly, a dark idea hits him. He wonders if she disappeared because of the secret actions of someone else. A powerful shaman who saved the entire world vanishing in secret without anyone ever noticing a thing. Feeling stressed, he crumples a few pages and decides it is better to look for books from the Republic. Right then, a girl says if he wants info on Esther's group, he should read the biography she is holding. He thanks her, thinking it is about Esther, but realizes it is about the ash shaman Terena, his former disciple. That sends him spiraling into his thoughts until the girl who gave him the book asks what is wrong. He says it is nothing and thanks her. Flipping through, Rain wonders when that mischievous girl finally became a shaman. And trust me, a shaman commanding spirits is legendary, definitely one of the highest ranks for any witch. Alright, stick with me because our main character is starting to suspect someone actually succeeded where Friede failed. After digging into the pages, he just can't wrap his head around how anyone survives that many years. It is really hard to tell if he should believe this or not. Based on what he knows about Friede, Rain decides he needs a new book from the Republic. Right then, the signal rings out. It's time for the magic duel to finally begin. He is still debating if he should even go, but since he already talked a big game, he has to show up. Standing up, he asks Karen to watch the book. She warns him that if someone else requests it, she will be forced to hand the book over. Rain just nods and says he will be back in 15 minutes. After crushing Logan in the magic duel, Rain rushes back only to find the librarian looking totally panicked and searching everywhere. She looks at Rain and desperately asks if he took the book, which he obviously denies doing. Rain asks if it vanished, and Karen confirms it. She finished her chores, came back, and the book was just gone. Rain wonders if someone stole it, but the librarian says that is impossible. If an unregistered book leaves, the alarms scream. Rain is stumped on how this happened so fast. Looking at how worried Karen is, he knows she is not lying to him. Karen keeps apologizing since she promised to keep it safe, but Rain tells her it is fine. He says they can just buy a new copy and she should report it as his mistake. She refuses at first, but finally gives in. She tells him she is shocked someone so kind exists and thanks him sincerely. Back in his room, Rain stares at the ceiling. People have been thanking him a lot lately. It feels like a waste of time, but he does not hate it. He wonders if it is his new body or just this peaceful life making him so soft. Either way, he needs to figure out what is behind all these strange recent incidents. There are too many weird coincidences, like that diary he gave to Esther somehow ending up back in his hands. Plus, the second he starts digging into his old friend's past, Tina's chronicle just happens to vanish. He wonders if it was her, but that is impossible. She is long gone, and everyone he knew as Lynn should be dead now. Pay attention now, because while Rain struggles with this mystery, he realizes his progress bar has strangely started to climb. He is confused since all he did today was use magic to beat someone up in a duel. Then it clicks. He can actually farm progress by using magic against real people. That means the door to the truth is open with violence. His excitement dies down pretty fast, though. He starts thinking that something about this just feels totally wrong. Our main character realizes that while power might rule the world, it shouldn't be something achieved through raw brute force alone. Still, when he blasted a target, his progress only went up by 0.1%, but against Logan, it jumped 0.8%. After thinking it over, he decides this is worth testing. The problem is that attacking students would be a huge scandal, so he figures maybe he should become an adventurer instead. Rain knows he needs cash for more books anyway, so this plan actually kills two birds with one stone. You and I both know what comes next. The next day, our main character is surrounded by fangirls. Grumpy as usual, Rain tells them he is not interested, but they just think he is playing hard to get and laugh. A couple of guys comment that Rain is clearly doing amazing with the ladies. They say flirting this early is a total power move. Rain is sick of it. But then Krista finally appears. He grabs everyone's attention and tells them to clear out. Like magic, they scatter so she can finally sit down. Gertrude whispers in Rain's ear that his real nickname should be Lady Killer, giving him a smirk before walking off. Rain tries to chat with Krista, but she looks totally annoyed and tells him to stop talking to her immediately. Rain asks why, but she just snaps back, asking if she didn't tell him to stop bothering her. Giving up, he says he will stay away. In his head, he wonders if she is mad about the magic duel. Closing her book, she admits she isn't actually mad because honestly, watching him win was pretty satisfying. What really bugs her is that he hid his true strength and acted weak when he was actually overpowered. She says if he is strong, he should have some pride since he beat Logan and even defeated her. Plus, now she can finally crush him without people accusing her of bullying a weak student. Pointing at Rain, she tells him to get ready because next time she's going to turn him into dust. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how this showdown between the top student and Rain ends. Let's jump into this tense standoff where our protagonist asks if she's really going to stay standing because if she keeps it up, she'll lose points in class. She takes the hint, sits down, and gives him a quick thanks for the heads up. Everyone in the room notices how polite Krista is, but Gertrude thinks if she practiced her declaration of war all night, she should at least do it properly. Cut to the central library that weekend. The librarian, Karen, tells Rain there's a serious problem, which leaves him totally confused about what exactly went wrong. Now, watch this. She tells him all the books about Tarina are out of stock because the interrogation unit of the Children of Gold sect put them on their censorship list. He asks if that means the shaman was officially declared a heretic, and Karen confirms the bad news. Rain is baffled. I mean, it's pretty weird for someone to be labeled a heretic after they've already passed away. He asks if she's actually read it, and she says obviously any serious librarian has to know their stuff to do the job right. After all, the book is about Archmage Lynn and Frey's disciple, and it's packed with legendary stories. Rain is floored. Are they even talking about the same person? He asks if the book mentioned any weird details about dark magic. She says it's just a normal biography and she didn't see anything out of the ordinary while reading it. If there was dark magic, censorship would have wiped it out. Rain realizes this just makes things way more mysterious than before. With a heavy sigh, he decides there's only one option left. He's heading straight to the black market. Karen is completely lost, wondering what kind of plan he's cooking up. He explains you can find anything there, from heretical books to abyss-corroded tools. Finding info on Tina should be easy in a place like that. Karen worries about the price tag, though. Rare, censored items like that usually cost a small fortune to get. Rain knows he can't ask his family to bankroll a heretical book without raising some major red flags. The librarian estimates it'll cost around 3 gold coins, way more than she could ever afford on her humble salary. Rain realizes he needs to scrape some cash together immediately. He starts wondering if he should sell spells on the street or work as a magic instructor. But both of those jobs pay way too little for the massive amount of time they'd take. Stick with me here, Rain decides the only way out is a high-stakes plan for a big payoff. His biggest gamble? Earning money by risking his very own life. Turning quickly toward the exit, Rain thanks her and says she's been a massive help today. That makes the girl curious, so she asks where he's going. Rain tells her he's got something new he wants to try. He admits he's planning to become an adventurer so he can make some fast cash while he's stuck in this mess. Karen is worried it would be disgraceful for a lord from a famous family and asks for more time to find a solution. But Rain says this is the fastest way. She feels sad that she can't stop him. She admits she feels ashamed. The next morning, a mysterious man arrives asking about Rain Lewick and the biography he supposedly borrowed. Since first-semester students aren't allowed to borrow books, he's demanding to know who authorized this. The other librarian says Karen was the one responsible. When he asks where she is, she says it's Karen's day off. The man wonders if since she's new, maybe she just didn't know the borrowing rules, which the librarian says is possible. Another girl suggests maybe Karen just wrote down the wrong name because she could have mixed up Rain with Ellen. She claims Karen's handwriting is so messy you can't even tell if it says Ellen or Rain. Since everyone has been talking about Rain lately, Karen probably just got confused and wrote it down wrong. Plus, Karen's been seen having secret meetings with him lately. Hey, people make mistakes when they're in love, right? Hearing that, the man says if that's the case, it's fine, and he just needs to change the borrower's name to Ellen after the meeting. In the past, when people thought of adventuring, they immediately pictured brutal, life-threatening work for rough tavern types. But now, they seem more like elite mercenaries who hunt down monsters. If you're top tier, you're treated almost like a hero. Knowing that, Rain thinks the world really has changed. When he enters the guild, he runs into some adventurers gossiping about high rewards for clearing out spiders and rats. He keeps walking with that in mind. At the counter, the receptionist asks what he wants. Rain tells her straight up he'd like to register as an adventurer. Seeing his uniform, she realizes he is a student and asks for his identification. As he hands it over, he asks how long the whole registration process takes. She says for Delatan's students, it takes less than 10 minutes. Looking closely at his ID, she notices his noble last name and freezes up. And that's where we leave it. Why would a high-ranking noble want to become a lowly adventurer? Alright, you and I are about to watch the moment Rain officially starts his journey by signing his life away on a special guild contract. Turns out, there is a special clause just for high-ranking nobles. The clause states the guild is not responsible for any problems that happen during work, which leads Rain to ask if people tried to blame them. Apparently, some massive legal drama from about 100 years ago led to this loophole being born. She hands over an iron tag and confirms his registration is done. That is his rank badge. He is iron now, heading toward diamond. Any skills or combat experience from his past will definitely boost his official rank. It is all about proving you can handle missions. He starts explaining the ranking exam, but Rain just says he gets it and heads for the door. She tries stopping him, but he just waves her off with a quick thank you. He tells him to stay safe and reminds him that higher ranks unlock much better quests. He is finally an official adventurer. Now he can start grinding for rewards. Problem is, he only has 44 silver coins left. He decides to start by hunting rat spiders, figuring they must be weak since they are only worth 2 silver coins per kill. Since they are weak, his only real option is to hunt thousands. Stick with me here, because this mountain path with the Japanese-style gate looks completely different from what Rain remembers. Back in the city, people are swarming a guy selling suspicious life potions. Rain figures the dragons died out, letting monsters run wild all over the place now. The merchant calls out to him, warning that he will need a potion for that path. He refuses and keeps walking until he finds the stairs to the fire dragon shrine. The sight triggers old memories. At least the shaman's village is safe. Rain stretches and vows that the shaman should watch closely as he clears the pests, until a mysterious girl with green hair suddenly asks if he is a mage. She senses a weird vibe and tells him he cannot hide his power. Rain says he is not hiding, pointing out that his uniform screams mage. Feeling awkward, she just asks him to join her party instead. She introduces her crew, starting with the massive wall of a man behind him. That is Bart, a silver rank vanguard, but Rain thinks the guy looks more like a beast. He tells him to stop being rude. Bart is actually a big softie. Next is Sammy, their very chill apprentice priest. Finally, the girl introduces herself as Rem, a genius. She hits a wild pose, but Rain just thinks they look like a bunch of sketchy criminals. Rem gets offended, but Rain tells her they look like a group of kidnappers. Bart steps up, looking ready for a fight. Now watch this, because the big guy starts crying. Rem comforts him, saying people always judge them by their looks. Rain asks why they want an iron rank, but Rem says ranks do not matter. She can tell he is strong. Vibe reminds him of Esther, especially when they worry about him going solo. Sammy mentions that students often get hurt in these woods. They do not want to force him, so they just tell him to be careful. Rain thanks them for the warning but insists on working alone. Rem sighs and says it is a shame, telling Bart not to worry because the kid will probably be just fine. As they head off to hunt rat spiders, someone taps Rem on the shoulder. Trust me, you and I knew he would change his mind. Alright, you and I are about to watch our main character join a party to go hunt down some nasty rat spiders. Elsewhere, the feast is on. Deep in the woods, a rat spider is busy gnawing on some branches when it suddenly senses something approaching. It's Rain's group, They're starting to doubt these monsters even exist since they haven't seen a single trace of them anywhere yet. Bart checks if the kid is cool with splitting the gold evenly, and Rain agrees that it sounds like a fair deal. Veterans ask if this is Rain's first real quest and if he actually knows what these rat things are like. The kid says nope, so the cleric breaks it down. These freaks are literally what they sound like, a rat's head on a spider's body. Their whole colony is built around a queen, her loyal soldiers, and the lowly worker units. Workers eat trees, but soldiers hunt humans. Hearing that, Rain immediately gets curious about the queen of the hive. The young priest tells him not to worry. They're not actually going after the big boss this time around. The plan is simple. Take out the soldiers and ignore the queen, who basically never leaves her underground lair anyway. Standard stuff. Rain wonders why they're leaving her alone. Wouldn't it be better to just wipe out the whole nest in one go? Bart explains that the queen isn't nearly as much of a daily threat as those aggressive soldiers. Hunting a queen requires a massive, expensive operation. For now, they're sticking to the soldiers because those are the pests actually ruining people's everyday lives. Now, pay attention here, because our main character thinks a harder target just means a much bigger payday. As they push through the brush, Rem warns him to forget it. The queen is a nightmare opponent, even for high-rank adventurers. Suddenly, the girl spots something ahead. It looks like they finally stumbled upon exactly what they were searching for. She leaps down a slope, shouting that she found the prime hunting grounds for the rat spiders. While still in midair, Rem fires off a few arrows, instantly taking down 2 of the monsters below. The warrior doesn't hesitate, jumping in right after her to slash through 2 more of the beasts. The guy with the ponytail tells them to keep moving. He spotted a massive swarm. Rem figures they've already caught their scent. In the middle of the chaos, the girl tells Bart to finish this fast before more show up. Watching them fight, Rain asks the cleric if it's really okay for him to sit out since everyone is splitting the rewards. Digging through his gear, the priest says their only job is to get the campfire going and prep drinks for the group. Rain is shocked that's all he has to do. Turns out, the team never intended to let him fight anyway. He doesn't get why they even posted the request then, and Sammy explains they just wanted to help him out. They stepped up because they heard Rain needed some cash for his upcoming priesthood exams. Even though they've already made enough money, they just keep on doing it for others. Being with them, you can feel how much they genuinely care. Rain asks if this is like that unconditional love God loves so much. Smiling, the priest totally agrees. Let's pause and appreciate this vibe. It's a sense of solidarity that goes way beyond any simple religious explanation. He thinks it's just the basic human desire to be together. Sammy admits he's having a blast adventuring with them, and these days together have truly made his heart feel full. Realizing he's been talking way too much, he apologizes for rambling, saying it's kind of embarrassing for a priest. Rain just nods. It really is nice traveling together. He starts thinking back to his old crew, which naturally brings his thoughts to Tarina. Rain asks if the priest knows anything about Tarina. The young man wonders if he's talking about the infamous Witch of Ashes. While the battle rages, the priest says there's no way he'd know. Rain asks if the shaman was really taken by the church for heresy. He says it feels like it happened, but strangely, like it didn't at the same time. Suddenly, the purple-haired hunter comes face to face with a monster that's absolutely massive compared to the others. Screams of agony echo through the entire forest. The adventurers are stunned. Bart rushes toward the source of the noise, knowing something is very wrong. He sees the giant beast with a man in its jaws. Rem gasps in disbelief. Trembling with fear, they shout that it's actually the queen. Trust me, you and I did not see this coming. The queen monster is actually up on the surface. Rain nervously asks why she's even here, but Sammy stays weirdly calm, noting she's twice the size of a normal queen. They explain her size is because she's been left alone for a very long time. Suddenly, the queen raises her head and lets out a scream that sends piercing pain through everyone nearby. Alright, stick with me because we are about to watch these rookies make the biggest mistake of their lives. Bart yells for them to stay focused, but then the queen screams and everything goes south. Sammy sees the chaos and orders a retreat immediately. Rain thinks they can handle one big bug, but the priest knows better. This is not just some normal monster they can easily swat away. See, once the queen arrives, those rat spiders start hunting in packs of 6. It is way too much for a bunch of rookies to handle. Before they can even react, the swarm lunges at everyone, including our girl Rem. She manages to hold her own and even knocks back a rat that was seconds away from biting another fighter. Bart shouts at her to stop wasting time on the minions and go straight for the queen. Rem just nods. She already knows what is up. The leader gives the orders, telling the priest to watch the newbies while Rain covers the cleric. It is a total mess out there. Then, our green-haired archer lets 4 arrows fly at once, aiming right for the queen with insane precision. Rain recognizes that move instantly. It is the simultaneous precision shot technique from Kai's. Spiders rush the archer, but Bart steps in and blocks them with his axe. He does not stop there, leaping high into the air and burying his blade deep into the queen. Cheering starts, thinking they won. But pay attention, this is where things get weird as black ink-like liquid oozes from the wound. Rain screams for Bart to move or he is a dead man. Bart barely dives away before that black ink sprays everywhere like a fountain of death. The crowd is stunned because that liquid actually looks like it is alive and moving. That queen spider just yanks the axe out of her own skull and tosses it aside. Bart looks at his weapon and realizes the metal has completely melted away. Then, this monster literally rips out its own eyes and grows brand new ones. She turns her gaze toward Bart, who is frozen stiff with pure terror right in her path. Rem is still busy swatting away minions, but she can feel the situation turning south fast. She screams for Bart to run, but he cannot move a muscle. He just stands there as the creature sinks its fangs right into his arm. Seeing her friend in pain, Rem stops holding back. She ignores the small fries and swears she is taking that queen down right now. She slams an arrow into the spider's temple and mocks it for trying to ignore her. She starts tossing those minions around like they are just bags of trash. While Rem clears a path, the cleric tells Rain to forget about him and go help with the main assault on the queen. But Rain is completely locked up, getting flashbacks to the last time he was poisoned while staring at that monster. He realizes this is definitely black magic, which means a dark mage must be lurking nearby. Sammy grabs his shoulder and yells at him to snap out of it. Rain panics, saying he has no combat spells ready and there is nobody left who can actually stand and fight. The priest is desperate, begging Rain to save their lives. Rain looks around, covered in a cold sweat, as he watches his friends getting ripped apart by the swarm. Let's pause. With tears falling, he actually asks about the bounty. Even while getting chewed on, the cleric manages to say it is worth 20 gold coins. That is basically the price of 1,000 small spiders. Rain likes the sound of that cash. He slams the queen with a stick that causes a massive explosion the second it makes contact. Everyone is stunned by the blast. Rain just stands there taunting the beast, telling it he's going to end its life personally. He fires off a massive lightning spell, creating a pillar of light so bright that it blinds everyone in the room. The queen drops Rem and Bart as Rain begins to channel his aura for the final strike against the spider. Rain tells the priest to look after Rem and Bart while shouting at the other extras that if they want to live through this nightmare, they better protect Sammy. He locks eyes with the beast and vows to take it down himself. The queen lost a leg, but she does not even care. Rain doesn't hesitate though, charging straight at her while chanting another high-level spell. He blasts through the minions in his path. Sammy is worried sick, but he has to stay back and treat the injured fighters. Rain comes face to face with the queen and slams a fireball directly into her disgusting neck. Spider tries to strike back, but Rain slides right under her and starts summoning a 3-star magic circle. Just as he is about to fire, a giant leg crashes down, barely missing him by a few inches. He knows a 3-star spell might not be enough, and his mana is running low. He tells himself he has to keep a cool head to survive. He activates his ability, Belsidious, to scan the queen. That is when he sees it. The monster is infused with pure 3-star black magic. A soldier spider tries to sneak up on him, but Rain dodges the attack with 0 effort. He summons a magic rope while realizing his current body is way too weak to handle that level of concentrated black poison. If he cannot block this, he might have to risk using 4-star magic. But with a dark mage potentially watching, that would be incredibly dangerous for him. This is becoming a total disaster, and even Rain is starting to wonder if he can pull this off alone. Despite being badly wounded, Rem forces herself to stand up. The cleric tells her to lie down before she bleeds out, but she just ignores the pain. What do you and I take from this? She just tells the priest to go save Bart. Total loyalty. Alright, stick with me because you are about to witness an epic survival struggle. Potato Head checks if Rem is okay, but she just tells him to focus on the spider rats. With Rain there, he thinks nothing will work and they must retreat, when something slams into a tree near the boy. Rain realizes that is actually a soldier's eye. He is terrified because the queen is killing her own offspring, and after spotting Rain, she hurls a creature and knocks him down. Even while falling, the poor guy just cannot catch a break. A spider rushes him and he summons an earth barrier, fully convinced this is the final end. Suddenly, an arrow pierces the queen's eye, leaving our protagonist frozen in pure shock. The queen rips it out and Rem warns her not to ignore her before the monster charges. Sammy screams for her to run, but Rem is determined to hold the line against the relentless monster. Rain mutters this sucks while casting lightning. Pulling a dagger from her leg, Rem tells Rain to handle his business and then charges, slamming the queen into the ground. Nearly in tears, Rain hides behind a rock and tries to stay calm. Now pay attention, because Rain is about to focus on a very complex magic circle. After kicking the queen, Rem is feeling dizzy and totally exhausted. She tries to hang on, but everything turns gray and she passes out immediately. Queen tosses her aside while an extra prevents the cleric from helping her. Rain stays hidden, focusing hard on his spell. Sammy takes advantage of the distraction and rushes over to help Rem. He even spits blood from the massive effort of the spell. Just as the queen moves for the kill, the priest saves her, leaving everyone and the monster stunned. Rem asks what he is doing, but he says they have to get out of there alive. She needs to stop. She apologizes and tells him he is writing a reflection letter later. He agrees as they face the queen together, bracing for the next big impact. Look, he is finally ready. He launches a massive fireball made of 4 complex layers. Those runes used were angle, rule, and disperse, needing 14 polynomials and 7 rational functions to finally solve the entire thing. Coordinate and power equations are finally finished. Activating the last circle creates a fire pillar that burns the queen to a crisp. Everyone ducks as the queen is literally turned into charcoal. Leaning on a rock, Rain feels pathetic since he used to cast that 7 times. Her ashes scatter everywhere. The furious rats now look like rabbits. The adventurers give chase while the priest runs over to help Bart. Rem cannot believe that terrifying creature was taken down fast. The cleric heals Bart while Rem admits she feels dizzy. Sammy says Bart is a tough guy. Bart apologizes to Rem, but she tells him not to worry about it. That queen had weird regeneration that was not even in the guild database. Still, the boys managed to end her with just 1 blow. At night, the group helps Rain, who has mana overload. He burned all his mana. Rem wonders why he hid, but Sammy says they should discuss that later on. Trust me, his past life as Lin is truly wild. Alright, stick with me, we're diving back into a past where our main character makes a shocking request to stay out of the history books. An old man can't wrap his head around it, since the king literally prepared these honors for those who sacrificed everything for humanity. Esther wonders if he actually hates them, or if he's just pulling another one of his pranks again. Seriously, he needs to stop acting like such a troublemaker. Our main guy just shakes his head, explaining that it's not like that he's just built differently than the rest of them. He gets heated, demanding an explanation, but Lin steps in. He explains he doesn't carry a heavy destiny like the legendary heroes Kai's or Freed. He has no divine mission like Esther, and he definitely didn't start this long journey just to help some random strangers. Everything he did was for his own curiosity. Being part of the hero party? Just a total coincidence. Lin insists he doesn't deserve a spot in the archives because he wouldn't want to stain their perfect reputations. Kai's just ruffles the boy's hair as the whole group bursts out laughing, teasing him for worrying about something so silly. Totally annoyed, the kid snaps back that it's not worrying, it's just a completely logical conclusion based on the facts. Then Esther gently takes his hand, promising that no matter what the world thinks, he'll always be a true member of their squad. He shouldn't think about sacrifice, just do what he feels is right. After all, the world already knows him as the legendary hero party's archmage. Now watch this. Rain finally wakes up right in the heart of the city. Bart is carrying him when he finally asks where they are. Rem looks relieved and tells him they're heading straight for the academy. Rain sighs, feeling his entire body throbbing with pain. He definitely pushed his limits, but at least they dodged that terrifying black mage. Bart speaks up, asking if Rain was the one who launched that massive fire spell. Rain hesitates, but Rem tells him not to bother lying, they already know. A bit awkwardly, he admits he wasn't really trying to keep it a secret. She mutters under her breath that it actually was him. Since they assumed he'd want to stay low-key, they took precautions. They told everyone they used a magic scroll, then asked if he wanted the records corrected. Rain tells them to leave it as is. Since he has his reasons, Rem agrees not to pry into his business any further. They insist on paying him back for saving their lives. He tries to play it cool and decline, but the second the cleric offers him the full reward, he's all in. Rem gives him that classic, seriously, look. He asks why she's judging him, because let's be real, he definitely earned every single coin. You and I both knew he wasn't that selfless, but she hoped he'd share with the group and split it fairly. Rain says she's dreaming, which gets them all laughing. Our guy admits he was just kidding and only wants 5 gold coins, but Bart insists he deserves the entire treasure for himself. Rain tries to argue back, but Rem cuts in, suggesting the kid use his new connections to turn this situation into a massive opportunity. He thinks it's a solid idea and agrees. Then the priest suddenly remembers him asking about a girl named Tina earlier. Our main character nods and asks why he's bringing it up. Sammy heard a rumor at the church. It might not be true, but it sounds like that shaman got tangled up in some nasty dark magic in her final years. Rain smiles while waving goodbye to the group, but his face goes stone cold the moment he's alone. It seems she really did dive into the forbidden arts. Later at the library, Rain scans through ancient books while resting his chin on his hand. He snaps the books shut, frustrated that there's zero mention of Torina ever touching the dark arts. As he stares at the cover, another memory of his past life as Lin surfaces. He remembers tossing aside an old, worn-out book. Tightening his grip on his staff, the young boy treks toward a ruined village buried deep within the dark abyss. Deep inside a swamp-soaked house, they finally discover Torina. Back then, she was just a scared 7-year-old girl. With a simple snap of his fingers, Lin ignites a small campfire using scrap wood and torn pages. He figures that'll do the trick. Suddenly, the girl starts coughing, making Lin turn and slowly approach her. Torina looks absolutely terrified until Lin pulls something from his bag. Her fear vanishes the moment she realizes it's food. Handing her some bread, he asks if she's hungry. He tells her not to worry, there's definitely no poison in it. As the others gather around, Lin asks why she isn't eating. It's all he has to give, but she stays silent, making him sigh in frustration. Finally, the girl breaks down, crying that her parents and everyone she ever knew are already gone. Lin asks if her village ever had contact with the outside world, but she just shakes her head. And trust me, you and I won't forget this. Lin tells her that she might be the only one left to remember her people and keep their memory alive. Stick with me, we're looking at a life that nobody will remember. He asks if she's really okay with that, since if she dies, everything vanishes. Crying, Tina clutches his clothes and says she doesn't want that. Lin says she must eat. He hands her the bread and says even if she doesn't want to, she must eat to remember the people. That is her duty alone. Then, the girl starts eating like her life depends on it. Tears fall as she eats, and from then on, Torina starts following him everywhere. This kid has crazy magic talent, but Rain says he never wanted her to be a great mage just to survive. Even after they eventually split up, she kept learning and never once complained. They practiced water magic for fires and earth magic to save people from falls. Around the campfire, Friede asks if Lin has a soft spot for kids, and Esther wonders if that's true. He just tells them to start talking sense for once. Watching her practice, he wonders if this is just sympathy or something more. Maybe it's his own past. Finally, the day comes to leave Tina at the church. Though she's gloomy, she says goodbye calmly. Esther says they should leave the town and get moving fast. Lin agrees. Deep down, the boy just hopes that Torina will be okay. A man shows her the house, saying it's huge, but she'll get used to it soon. The girl looks miserable, so the man tries to reassure her, saying that from now on, they'll be her family. But Torina, who had been completely silent, finally speaks up, saying this isn't home. With a magic circle, she declares that only her master is family. An old man in black robes says her admission process is finally complete. Now pay attention, because the priest is about to find out how strong she's become. Asking if the kid did it, the old man demands a pursuit team, but the smiling priest says there is no need, please just let her go. The old man tries to argue but eventually gives up. With a sigh, the priest remembers the moment she trapped him and told him to let go. Rina apologizes but insists the place she needs to be is by her master's side. The priest smiles at her youth, and the old man just replies that the priest is being way too tolerant. Suddenly, Lin hears a voice. He turns to see a totally exhausted Torina running toward them and calling him master. The protagonist asks how she escaped, and she says she used the magic he taught her. Falling to her knees, she begs to go along, promising not to cause any trouble. Lin checks with Esther and agrees to take her, but warns they can't stay together all the way to the end. Also asks if she hurt anyone while she was escaping with her magic. She says no, so Lin says it's fine and reminds her that magic should never hurt people. Torina's in the group. You and I both saw this coming. Her talent is finally starting to explode. Training with the others, they see her potential and start teaching her in different ways. Diana is like a sponge, picking up new skills fast, even if she still seems a little too timid sometimes. And once she reaches the level where she can handle powerful monsters, they officially accept her into the party. One night, Esther brings the girl some gifts. It's a new dress that makes her happy, as Freddie points to Lin's straw hat. The girl thinks it's for her, but Lin says it's actually just for him. In the Battle of the Abyss, she's finally strong enough to help, but in a rune cabin, Lin says she must stay. She insists on helping, telling him he knows she can fight just as well. Just then, Esther arrives and agrees with Lin. They cannot take Torina with them. The girl asks the others to speak up, but they stay silent. She says they've been together for so long. Lin says she's still a newbie and the enemy they're about to face is just way too dangerous for her. But what do you and I take from this? Protection feels like betrayal. Alright, you and I are jumping back into a story where 4 heroes finally wrap things up. Lin told her not to stress. He promised to return and teach her more magic. She held back her tears and said she would wait forever for them. Lin flashed a smile before they headed out. Just like that, their journey with her finally reached its end. But for Rain, this did not add up. The girl gets tangled in dark magic soon. Why are Torina's books being censored now? Rain cracked open the book while Rudian rested right on his forehead. His research stats just ticked up from 37.9% to 39.9%. He's glad, but only gaining 2% from wiping out rat spiders is weird. Clearly, he still has a long way to go. On the final page sat a sketch of Lin. Right underneath, she called him the most amazing master in the entire world. That actually brings a smile to Rain's face. He is about to say something, but suddenly, the smile just disappears. Now, stick with me here. The sun is rising over the battlefield, and some guys in green robes look seriously ticked off. They are worried that the lingering heat from the flames and the blast radius will attract the golden children and scare away adventurers. Someone else figures this had to be at least a 4-star level spell. If their prisoners told the truth, then those 2 adventurers, Rem and Bart, were definitely involved in this whole mess. The impatient rogue wants blood immediately, but the calm one warns that would only bring the golden children down on them. The first guy snaps back that they just need to make sure they do not get caught in the act. The level-headed one insists there are bigger priorities than revenge. The hothead just wants to know what could be more important. The answer? They need to report to Tarina first. Back at school, right in front of the club room, two students ask Rain if he is okay. He tells them he is perfectly fine. At the front of the room, the club leader stands up to begin. The president tells everyone to find a seat because they are finally ready to get the club meeting started. He notes their numbers have exploded. He introduces himself as Joan, president of the Development Magic Club, and he is honestly thrilled. Joan hopes they will all get along. He starts diving into the club goals, but then the door swings open and someone walks right into the room. Joan keeps talking about local development magic as he turns around, but he completely freezes the second he sees the newcomer. You and I both saw this coming. It is Logan. He introduces himself to the room and says he hopes to fit in. Looking a bit rattled, Joan tells him he actually showed up at the perfect time. He waves Logan over to sit, but Logan stops dead when he realizes the only open chair is right next to Rain. Our main character looks incredibly smug, pointing at the empty seat with a nasty little grin on his face. Once everyone is settled, Joan says they should start with a fresh perspective and asks them to take good care of things. Rain whispers that Logan actually kept his word, while Logan just grumbles that he is a man who follows the rules. While Joan is busy explaining, Rain is deep in thought, wondering if he could actually take down black mages if they ever fought. Checking his stats, he sees 12 magic power and 311 stamina. He definitely needs to toughen up his body fast. He cannot just do random workouts. He needs an expert coach. Then he looks at Logan, the perfect candidate for the job. Cut to the training field where Rain is absolutely dying under Logan's brutal workout routine. Logan thinks back to when the kid first asked for help. He honestly could not understand why Rain would even ask. After all, Rain is the one who won their fight. Why learn from the guy who ended up losing? Rain tells him to drop the grudge. He calls Logan the star pupil of that famous group of muscle brain specialists. That comment makes Logan's veins pop. He admits he lost the fight, so he expects people to ignore him. But he also tells the kid there is absolutely no reason for him to keep trashing his school like that. Rain just scratches his head, looking totally confused. He sighs and says he is not bored enough to just mock people. Closing his book, our main character realizes Logan has the wrong idea and decides to be totally blunt about it. Pointing right at him, Rain admits Logan is strong and he genuinely wants help with physical training. He is not joking. He only asked because he was genuinely surprised that someone that age could be that powerful. Logan appreciates the compliment, but he is confused by the that age comment. Rain insists a strong body is the basic foundation. He wants to train properly. Otherwise, he is just throwing his time down the drain. So, you and I are left watching him ask for real guidance from a pro who actually knows his stuff. Stick with me, Rain is making his move. Logan says there is likely no one more qualified than him, but he cannot teach Rain, so the kid needs a new mentor. Rain tries offering cold hard cash, but Logan shuts him down instantly, saying money is not the problem. Our main character is from the aristocracy, while Logan represents the schools, which makes them sworn enemies from birth. Supporting an enemy is strictly forbidden, and seeing that logic, Rain just looks completely annoyed by the situation. Rain calls him out, and the second the man turns, he finds an attack magic circle aimed right at his face before the kid cancels it. He tells Logan he is lucky to be alive because he could have ended him right there. Smoke rises from his hand as Rain explains that he does not see Logan as a real enemy. They are students in a place of learning, not soldiers fighting some war on a bloody battlefield. There is no reason to be rivals when they are just classmates exploring the world of magic together. Logan actually stops to think and admits the kid has a surprisingly solid point he cannot ignore. Back in the present, Rain is totally spent on the floor, but Logan actually admits the kid is doing a decent job. The kid asks if Logan finally believes he is serious, and the big guy just tells him to get ready for more. Our main character begs for a hand up, but Logan tells him he has to stand up on his own. Now, pay attention. Logan warns that if they are caught together, both the schools and the aristocracy will attack. Hearing that, Rain asks if those muscles are just for show, suggesting he should just knock out anyone who has a problem with it. That actually makes the brute smile as he helps the kid up, while their teacher watches the two of them bonding. Just then, Krista walks into the room and spots them. She asks if they are fighting again, but they both deny it, saying they are just getting a workout in. Logan hands over a protein shake while Krista freaks out, asking if Rain is being manipulated by the big guy. Losing his cool, Logan tells her they are having a meaningful moment and she should just back off. She still does not get why he is being so friendly with Rain all of a sudden. A teacher suddenly appears behind her and puts a hand on her shoulder, telling her she is being loud again. She starts sweating when she realizes it is Professor Owen, who is clearly there for a specific reason. Owen calls them a bunch of monkeys and announces he has some very important news for everyone present. He says he has some terrible news, which he describes as a necessary rite of passage. Owen explains that the school philosophy is built on endless competition, to see who rises or falls. He warns them that anyone who fails the exams will be dropped from the academy immediately. Later that night, Rain lies in bed thinking about those exams while picking up a book. He wonders what to expect until his Rudian suddenly starts glitching out of nowhere. You and I are about to see something wild as a blinding light teleports him away. Rudian informs him that his unique magic research has finally reached 40% completion. Rain asks why this is happening now while he is asked to confirm opening a new mana circle, installing the legendary mental barrier Lord of the Fluent World. Inside this mental barrier, his success rate with unique runes jumps by 33%, while his overall power increases by 66%. A rune appears, but the mana needed is 20,000, and he only has 12,564. Our main character is stunned as the system explains this is the activation seal for his new mental barrier. Everything glitches out and he is back in his room, staring at his rudium in thought. He realizes only 2 sages in all of history were ever able to use a mental barrier. Knowing how rare it is, Rain realizes that what he just saw was absolutely legendary. When morning comes, our main character wraps his hand and decides to head to the black market. The weather is beautiful today, unlike those chaotic past few days, and Rain feels like he can finally enjoy a little peace after everything he has been through. He bumps into someone and apologizes, saying he did not see them there. Trust me, we are about to see things get tense with Bart's arrival. All right, you and I are back with our hero as he reunites with the whole crew after what feels like ages. Rain agrees. Then suddenly, Bart just hoists him up onto his massive shoulder. Rem says they should get going while Rain squirms in the warrior's grip, shouting for him to put him down while laughing. Rem points out that college students are always busy, so this kidnapping is the only way they can actually hang out. Rain calls it literal kidnapping, but the cleric says they heard there'd be an award for that last spider rat mission. Rain asks if he really has to go, but Bart tells him to stop being stubborn since ceremonies are actually good. Produce, the award comes from the Adventurers Guild headquarters. Rain's ears perk up. What exactly does headquarters mean here? They reach the guild and people are already whispering. With those classic dead fish eyes, Rain wonders why everyone's making a fuss. Rem explains that Bart comes from the school of the only saint of the 7 swords, while she's from the drunken archer school. And don't forget, he literally took down the queen monster in just one single strike. Rain suggests their masters might just be weak, which makes the girl furious until Sammy steps in to hold her back. Bart stays calm, explaining it might look that way from the kid's perspective, but he and Rem fought countless enemies to reach silver rank. Still, they realize their own lack of skill after facing the queen. That definitely leaves Rain deep in thought. Now pay attention. This is where the power players show up. A mysterious archer pulls back his hood. The man looks just like a legendary archer, calling them rising stars. Everyone starts murmuring that he's the actual bow saint. Sammy explains the Empire recruits the absolute best warriors, naming them the Emperor's 4 martial stars. They're granted massive power and honor. Just like the rumors said, their presence is completely overwhelming for everyone there. Looking at Rem, who seems totally down, he asks what's wrong. The archer looks confused and walks even closer. After getting a good look at her, he's shocked. He asks what his little cutie is even doing here. The girl tries to play it cool, claiming he's got her confused with someone else. He says that makes sense, since there's no way the girl who ditched the dojo and dyed her hair would be out here playing adventurer. He asks if she's following him without her brother's permission. The girl starts punching him repeatedly. Anyway, the man turns to Bart and asks if he's the leader. The warrior confirms it, and Rowan says it's obvious since he defeated that mutant. He must be pretty strong. While Rem struggles in Sammy's arms, Robin says Bart probably had a rough time because of her, but tells him to take good care of Rem. Bart calmly replies that since they're a party, nobody really takes care of anyone. They cover each other's weaknesses. Hearing that, the archer says he likes Bart even more. If he keeps this up, he'll hit platinum rank in no time. You saw that too, right? Rain is frozen, watching the archer and thinking it's crazy how he looks exactly like Kai's. It's strange, but he's sure he's seen that face before. Then he realizes it isn't the face, it's just the guy's vibe. Rain introduces himself as Rain Lewick. The man's eyes widen, saying the kid must be Scaly's grandson while patting him on the shoulder. He says looking at the kid now, he can see the resemblance to Scousy, especially around those sharp eyes of his. And he mentions that back when that man was in town, he owed him a lot. While they talked, our protagonist wondered if Kai's would talk just like that if he actually had a voice. Noticing the bow on the man's back, Rain found himself wondering what kind of condition his companion's weapon was in. Right then, the bow starts vibrating like crazy. Gripping it tightly, the boy wonders why it's acting up all of a sudden. Suddenly, a warrior appears telling them it's time to go. The archer agrees, finally kicking off the whole award event. Holding a sheet of paper, the man starts reading but immediately complains about how boring and long it is. He just skips the whole thing, ending with a simple congratulations to everyone on a job well done. Moving on to rewards, Raren says it'll be 2 gold coins and 500 contribution points for every single member. Afterwards, the group gets swarmed by other guilds. Rain and Sammy watch from the side, commenting on how popular their friends are. The cleric asks if it's really okay to say the queen was defeated with a scroll, and Rain confirms it is. Sick of all of it, the protagonist says he's heading out, and Sammy says in that case he'll let the others know. Before the kid leaves, Sammy mentions he's officially bronze rank now, so people on the street might actually start recognizing him in public. Trust me, we both know trouble is coming. Alright, you and I are jumping into a story where a past life failure is about to become a god-tier legend. There is still a long road ahead, but once he cracks this, he can finally focus on his true mana training. Mental barrier, a sage-level domain he failed to reach before, was finally in his grasp when a voice suddenly called out for young Master Ludwig. A stranger tells him he is heading the wrong way if he is looking for the black market. Apparently, the merchants got spooked and cleared out, so the whole place is temporarily shut down for the time being. The man tips his hat with a polite smile, revealing himself as a high-ranking member of the Magic League. He asks for a moment of Rain's time, but once they sit down at a restaurant, Rain tells him to cut the small talk and get straight to the point. The man just tells Rain to lower his guard. He claims he is not there to grill him about illegal markets, leaving Rain wondering how this guy even tracked his movements in the first place. But what really puts our main character on edge is the massive amount of mana radiating from the man. Apologizing for the late introduction, the man shows his watch and identifies himself as Doran Slade from the League's Special Operations Department. It turns out he was actually the personal secretary for Rain's father, back during his days as student council president. Rain immediately asks what his real angle is. Doran explains he is just trying to prove he is a reliable ally and definitely not some shady character out to get him. He wants to confirm if Rain was the one who nuked the mutated queen, since there is no record of Bart's group buying powerful magic scrolls lately. Even if they had bought one a while ago, no 4-star mage has been capable of crafting a scroll with that much destructive power in over 10 years. He even checked if Scalzi Luwick had made one to protect his grandson, but that lead turned out to be a total dead end. Now, pay attention to this look because he's about to corner our main character with the truth. Rain realizes he can't hide it anymore and admits he had his reasons for staying quiet, while Doran asks if it involves the Dark Mage. Sensing how much this guy knows, Rain starts wondering if he is being investigated or just stalked by a total creep. The waiter brings out the food, but the order is wrong. Doran asks if it's for 2 people. Fumbling with the plates, the nervous waiter asks if he was only supposed to serve 1 person. Since there were 2 people at the table, he just assumed. Doran grabs 2 skewers and says he will eat them both. With his trademark dead fish stare, Rain stands up and tells the man that if they are done, he's leaving. Before he can walk away, Doran drops the real offer he wants Rain to join the League's Special Operations Department. Rain declines, saying he's just a student, so Doran clarifies that the offer is for after he finishes school. Since the family head is still healthy, it will be ages before Rain inherits anything. So why not spend that time fighting some serious crime? If he joined, he would have the power to hunt dark mages on his own terms, making it a perfect career. Rain just walks away, saying he has 0 interest. Let's pause. The Dark Church is rising, and that's where things get dangerous. The League's bosses are drunk on peace and living in denial, but Doran knows something massive is about to hit the world. Pointing his skewer at the sky, the man admits he wants to believe they are ready for the storm, but he has his doubts. Before vanishing, the protagonist claims he has no clue what Doran is talking about, but says he'll think it over. Doran thanks him as Rain walks away, wondering if he is destined to fight the church again or if he should let the pros handle it. Smiling, Doran shouts one last thing, saying that if he ever needs black market access, he should look for the VIP escort mission during the next vacation. Passersby look at him in total embarrassment as a girl suddenly drops from the sky and asks if he just got rejected. The girl with heavy dark circles under her eyes asks why he is wasting time chasing after the genius young master this year. Doran says that in the end, the kid won't be part of the golden generation. Slumping into a chair, the woman asks why. Doran explains that Rain hasn't had any contact with Torina, so they need to look for other possible suspects. She asks if there is really a chance that any Delayan freshman could have actually been in contact with Torina. While drooling over his food, Doran says his gut feeling is never wrong, so they need to dig deep into the past of every student. So what do you and I think? Is he a genius, or is something much darker going on? You and I are about to see a kid whose future is so terrifying, even Cabinet thinks he created a monster. Back at the library, our main character told Karen he could not get that book, but he acted like it was no big deal. The librarian was beating herself up, saying the whole mess only happened because she had been a bit careless. She was just glad Rain was safe. He gave a shaky smile and asked if any suspicious guy in a hat had been around. Karen said no at first, but after a second, she stopped to think. Something clicked, and she mentioned someone from the Special Errands Department had actually stopped by earlier. They were checking on some veteran librarians they had known for ages before heading out, but Karen had not seen them herself, so she had no clue what they looked like. Rain played it cool, thanked her for the heads up, and said it was time to head back to the dorms. Walking back, he realized Doran had been there. Now he was wondering who that guy was talking to on the black market. Then he saw 2 delivery boxes outside his door. He knew right then the time had finally come. Inside were 2 massive spirit jewels. With these, he could finally store enough mana to trigger that mental barrier spell. He touched the gems. He had 12,000 mana, but he needed 20,000 for the barrier to work. Watch closely, because he is dumping 8,000 mana into those spheres. Look at that intense glow right now. The drain was brutal, making him collapse from pure exhaustion. Worn out, Rain noted the infusion was finally finished, but he still had to let the power stabilize. Night fell while Rain was busy meditating. He opened his eyes and whispered that it was finally time. The hand sign, he triggered the mental formation Honored Fluid World. The jewels flared as the spell took shape. Suddenly, the jewels started cracking. The strain was too much, and Rain ended up coughing up blood. Lying there, he thought he had failed again, but as he looked down, the entire room started shining a brilliant gold. You saw that failure too, right? But suddenly he stands up and realizes his magic circle is actually flawless. He could feel it in his gut now. That magic formation was not just working, it was flawless. The space was optimizing itself. Every single equation in his mind was being refined and polished automatically. Floating back down, he realized this was his own mind. The mental barrier was a mirror of his inner thoughts. Riet Warden, the second mage, was right all along. A sorcerer's desire for truth manifests as a mental image. The shifting world did not give him new facts. It just fixed his technical flaws and covered his weak spots. For Rain, this was the dream. Now he could master any spell through self-study without needing a teacher. With a smirk, he realized he was just one step away from becoming a 7-star mage. Over in the teacher's lounge, Medelia Page was asking if the schedule was a total mess. Kyle confirmed it, saying they would focus on the first years next week. Medelia mentioned the first-year class was full of monsters, and all the teachers were getting pretty curious about them. A teacher named Ivan admitted he did not have all the details yet, but things were clearly getting interesting, especially with that prodigy who had been hiding his insane talent until now. After all, in a place like this, nobody ever knows what is going to happen next. Ellen was fuming with her arms crossed, thinking about how everything had gone sideways. Caroline could basically read her mind and told her to chill. Another teacher noticed Caroline's confidence. They joked that her student might be the next one to get crushed after Logan. Caroline just laughed and told them they would just have to wait and see. Medalia thought that if things went as planned, the Page family heir was supposed to be the golden pillar for Layton's students. Suddenly, Professor Marhana told them to move out. It was time to start gathering their aura. She said they needed to notify the academy immediately. Starting today, the exams were officially beginning. Back in class, our main character looked like a total zombie. He figured Logan must think he is made of iron. The other students were jumping up, so a confused Rain asked Krista what the hell was going on. He told him they had to hit the auditorium right now for the sudden exam briefing. Rain thought the exams were next week, but Krista explained that DeLeon always changes the schedule without warning. When he asked why, Gertrude appeared and explained it was to keep them from procrastinating until the very end. Our boy just said that being consistent regardless of the timing is a real talent. The teachers knew that. So what do you and I make of this? Gertrude hates him, but she has no idea he's the legend. Krista spoke. Dive into this with me. You and I are watching a legendary academy exam begin. As they walk into the auditorium, Gertrude can see the dread on every student's face. Nobody here looks happy about what they're seeing. Rain suddenly spots Logan in the crowd and calls out to him. Seeing him, Logan is shocked. Rain got there so fast, but Rain says it was absolutely nothing. Gertrude then whispers a warning into Rain's ear. He better not become friends with Logan, because that guy is a dangerous rival he needs to worry about. Rain, however, says there is no way this guy is his rival. After all, he literally gives the man protein powder every single day. Furious, she asks if he is a pigeon, getting bought off with just food. Finally noticing who it is, Logan calls them Krista's lackeys and asks if she wants some magical protein too. Her temper explodes. She says she is not in the mood for jokes, telling him he better watch himself before they fight. Logan plays it cool and sarcastic, but then Krista steps in, pulling them apart because they're being way too loud. With a cold look, she says they should leave if they just want to talk. Rain didn't expect that intensity from Krista, and Gertrude quickly apologizes. Krista warns them that if they want to stay, they have to fight, like their lives depend on it. Now watch this. A voice greets them, saying she loves the tense vibe and telling them to keep that mindset during the exam. Then they see Professor Caroline. She gets right to the point, announcing the exam details. The test will run all week long from today until Friday, and honestly, the students are absolutely furious about it. But here's the catch. Teachers are the ones grading, and if they expel you, you are kicked out of school the same day. Caroline announces the evaluators. Out of the shadows, the real heavy hitters of the magic world finally step forward. The moment the students see who it is, they completely freak out. Gertrude starts frantically shaking Rain's shoulder. She asks if he has seriously never heard of the legendary Professor Marina. She used to head the Magic Alliance and is now the head professor at Delay. Leading the Alliance is an honor reserved only for the greatest mage of their entire era. Logan is totally speechless that a legend from the magic world just appeared. Gertrude keeps shouting at Rain, explaining that this woman actually replaced his own grandfather as head of the Alliance, which leaves our hero completely baffled. You and I know his grandpa was wild, so he figures this woman must be a total monster. And she tells him about the other teachers. There is Kyle, a genius who graduated top of 1,300 classes. Professor Jiren, a tower builder at 20. And Professor Ellen. Ellen writes for the top magic newspaper. These are the elites who teach the upper years. Gertrude says it is one hell of a lineup. Marina stays quiet for a moment, then clears her throat, instantly drawing every single person's attention in the hall. She magic amplifies her voice, screaming for everyone to shut up. It is so loud it actually scares the students. Leaning on her cane, she tells them these tests are meant to weed out every single useless person like them. She also warns that the evaluators won't go easy on them like the previous ones did. The kids wonder what she considers easy. These teachers will eliminate you the moment they decide you have zero talent, which makes everyone nervous. Seeing they finally look ready, Marina smiles and says, "Not bad." She explains tests will take place in different spots, assigned based on each student's specific traits. Soon, everyone will be told where their test is. Everyone needs to check the lists and head to their rooms. Marina reminds them this is Delayan. Only the strong survive here. The weak get tossed aside. Remember that rule? She dismisses them. Inside a dark cave, Professor Kyle says they have arrived to take on a labyrinth. Hearing that, the students start murmuring, wondering if they'll even make it out safely. Resting his hand on his chin, Rain says he doesn't remember a cave here. The professor asks what he said. Rain points out that since this is Red Dragon territory, a labyrinth is weird. Kyle is impressed by that knowledge, but says not to worry. It is an artificial labyrinth, and Kyle controls everything. Your lives probably aren't in danger, probably. That doesn't exactly help the students' nerves. He tells them they should be more worried about passing the exam. Stick with me, relative grading means only the very best of them get that S rank. All right, you and I are about to watch these students sweat. 39th place is the cutoff, or it is a failing grade. Score is based on time spent clearing the maze, and that means every single monster inside has to be totally wiped out. They are going in pairs. If they do not finish within 40 minutes, they are kicked out for good. A window pops up near Kyle, and he explains teams were made using entrance scores. Go find your partners, people. Rain wonders who he is stuck with. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a clay doll falls straight from the sky. He's confused until someone stomps it into dust. Of course, it is Krista, looking as annoyed as ever. She laughs and asks if the heavens are being cruel today. She is ready to crush him on day one. Her main goal? Breaking Rain's pride into tiny pieces. Then Logan shows up, asking to join the fun. He has news for Rain, who is looking more miserable by the second. Then the big guy drops the bomb. He and Rain are officially on the same team. Krista and Rain are stunned. Rain tries to be polite, but his friendly greeting just makes Krista even more irritated. She calls foul play, saying it is totally unfair to put the best students on the same squad like this. Now watch this. He just asks if she finally admits his skill. He denies it, obviously, just saying he is good enough for a rookie, I guess. She holds out hope until she remembers Rain's entrance test. He was an extra admit, and that hope just dies. Other students are whispering too. Wait, didn't Rain and Logan just have a massive fight not long ago? Logan does not care. He is taking first place regardless. Rain just smiles and tells everyone to try their best. Rain asks why Logan is still obsessed with rank. Does it really matter if you want to be the best? Logan looks surprised. Is Rain actually planning to graduate at the absolute top of the class? Logan explains that if that is the goal, then yeah, these 4 yearly exams are everything. Rain accepts it. He turns to Krista and apologizes, saying he cannot afford to go easy on her anymore. He looks confused for a second, then flashes a smile. That is exactly what she wanted to hear. Instructor claps, giving everyone 10 minutes to talk strategy before the chaos begins. Inside the maze are 20 routes with equal enemies. Only one team per path. Choose wisely, kids. Everyone starts planning. Meanwhile, the assistant asks Kyle why he always gives first years such a brutal exam. Let's pause for a second. Kyle says true talent only shows up when a major faces something they have never seen before. In those moments, their minds go blank. Judgment fails, they hesitate. This exam is meant to find the ones who truly shine under massive pressure. Logan suggests a simple plan to Rain just wipe out every single thing that dares to move. Rain likes it but wants something more solid before they step into that maze. But someone is being way too loud nearby, and it is totally messing with Rain's train of thought. Krista mocks him, telling him to stop eavesdropping and focus on his own team's mess. Rain snaps right back. She tells him not to worry. Her strategy? Already locked and loaded. Logan notes the magic limits inside the maze, but she is as confident as ever. She calls out to Rain one last time. Did he really say he is taking the top spot? She's been at the top forever, and today is no different. She's going to show him the gap. She leaves with her partner. Then, light flashes on the professor's glasses. Team 2, you are up. Kyle and his assistant watch through a magical camera following their every move. As they drop in, Krista orders her partner to activate the light magic immediately. He detects targets while she handles the landing with some smooth sand magic. Targets found. 2 enemies are waiting behind a pillar 20 meters to the northwest. Krista crosses her arms and says, "Rise." Suddenly, she summons an army in total solo leveling style. The sheer speed of her summoning shocks everyone, even Rain and Logan. That is not easy to pull off. Kyle is intrigued, but his assistant is terrified. That is the Warden family bloodline magic from the second sage. And trust me, we just witnessed a 2-star spell used with insane speed. This girl is a beast. You and I are about to witness a total prodigy controlling 12 summons simultaneously. Krista watches as a beast gets sliced in half. Her teammate detects 3 more targets in the hole to the left, so she decides they are heading in. He says it is right there. But after walking forever, Krista snaps and asks what he even meant by close. He tells her to hold on, warning that monsters are at 3 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and on the ceiling. She orders her shadows to strike, telling him to just watch her work. Instantly, her sand summons wipe them out. Her partner is totally stunned by how fast she cleared those 3. She asks what he is doing, but he says nothing is left there. She says they should keep moving, while other students watch from outside. Everyone is talking about how they are cruising through the maze. Our main character is shocked by her casting speed. Casting a star spell with that kind of precision is seriously impressive. Logan mentions Krista is obviously the most promising genius of their generation, but Rain wonders if the girl is really that amazing. The guide explains that even the Academy elders warned everyone to be very careful whenever Krista is around. Even mid-fight, Krista keeps pushing. In her mind, this performance still is not enough. Pay attention here, this is where we see the burden her name carries, remembering how mages praised her family when their leader was the dean. One of the mages asks if the young girl agrees with their words. Then he mocks her father, saying a 2-star mage is not worthy of being a leader. He asks how 2 families with legendary ancestors could end up so different. The black-hooded mage tells him to stop, but the red mage keeps going, touching the girl's shoulder. He tells Krista to inform her father that their family does not belong in the magic world anymore. He points out that her mother and sisters cannot even use magic, so things will only get worse. He suggests she should just quit magic and live in peace. It would be easier for everyone. Those words haunt her as she stumbles, taking down her 20th enemy of the day. He looks at her exhausted partner and coldly asks where the next target is. Her partner begs for a break, but Krista tells him there is no time. She yanks him along with a summon, demanding he just point out where the next enemies are. Outside, the crowd is losing their minds over her insane performance. The teacher finds it chilling. He never expected her magic to be on this elite level. In a flashback, the girl faces a distant light while a green mage asks what is wrong. She vows to be the greatest mage ever, so her family never looks down again. Watch closely, she is proving every hater wrong. She swears she will earn her honor back with her own 2 hands. She remembers the mage kneeling down, telling her he was counting on her to restore the Warden family again. Suddenly, a bat-like monster drops down and completely destroys one of her sand summons. She leaps backward, dodging the strike, and instantly calls forth another sand warrior. She orders it to attack, and the soldier punches the monster straight into the dirt. 4 minutes have passed since they started. The professor announces that all magical reactions have finally disappeared. Just like that, the exam is over with a time of 4 minutes and 13 seconds, a sub-5-minute finish. Kyle says this level of power is exactly what you would expect from a legendary mage family. He declares Krista's grade as an S. As they leave, the other students wonder how this is even possible. Most teams have not even finished their strategy talks yet. Logan expected talent from her, but nothing on this level. Nabby understands why the elders are watching. She is a future leader for the Magic City. The group stops in front of Kyle, who notes that since he began teaching at this school, flexing her skill, the girl says that winning with overwhelming power is simply how her family does things. The professor thought the Warden family strength came from their life in the Highlands, hiding massive reserves of stamina and magical power. Even with his strategic planning, he realizes her performance goes way beyond simple physical traits. That was pure, hard-earned, relentless effort. What do you and I take from this? A hard-working genius is unstoppable. Stick with me, a few students are left. He immediately grants them an S rank, and Krista bows politely while hiding her pure excitement. The professor wishes her luck, and she struts away feeling like she is on top of the world. Walking past our main character, she thinks to herself that she is just naturally superior. Rain tells Logan that this exam might actually be more fun than they first thought. Rain flashes back to his time as Lynn, listening to Esther talk about how their beautiful Southern Star home had sadly lost its once legendary sparkle. Freed asks for a solid plan, since entering that mysterious fog is basically a death sentence. Our protagonist agrees, while their silver-haired leader only cares about her growling stomach. After thinking for a second, Esther gives Lim the simplest order ever: just destroy everything. He nods at first, but then realizes she is talking about wrecking a protected heritage site and asks her what the hell she is actually thinking. Esther does not care, but Lin insists they preserve the original shape for a future fix. Kyle and Free just laugh, asking if he is actually being serious about protecting old buildings. Esther strikes a pose and tells Lin that sometimes you just dive in and apologize later. He is totally confused, but Freda sides with Esther, leaving Lin telling everyone to shut up. Free blushes and smiles, saying that to her, the leader matters more than any cultural heritage site, and that she will take all the blame later. Esther adds she is more than happy to use her fists instead. Rain asks if things are really that simple, and she admits she hates overthinking complicated problems. Charging up a magic circle, he realizes he is in, deciding to let future them deal with whatever mess they make today. Now pay attention. Rain has finally made up his mind, and his reckless past is about to change everything. He tells Logan he has a brilliant idea and gestures for him to lean in closer. Logan's worried that this stunt could get them disqualified, but Rain promises he will take full responsibility if anything goes wrong. Logan is still hesitant, pointing out they could easily pass the exam without doing anything too crazy, but passing easily would not be fun at all. Just then, Krista walks over, demanding to know what they are doing and why they are risking a disqualification. Rain mocks her for being scared and tells her to sit back and watch the show. She snaps back that this is a serious exam, not some playground for them to mess around. Rain just looks at her, asking if she thinks magic is actually supposed to be fun. Preparation time is officially over, and the professor tells every team to get into position. Teams start sprinting into the labyrinth, but Rain stays calm and casually approaches the professor. He asks if the students' lives are guaranteed, and the professor confirms that his protective magic keeps everyone safe from real danger. Rain smirks at Logan, telling him the green light is on for their insane little plan. The assistant professor announces that 9 minutes have passed, and with 1 minute left, Rain starts stripping off his shirt. Logan says he only needs 7 seconds, and Rain tells him he is counting on that power. I know what you're thinking as Rain summons his magic. Is he really about to blow everything up? They push their magic to the absolute limit, ready to turn this entire exam upside down. Krista is speechless that they are not even moving. But Kyle realizes something legendary is happening. He sees the Lewick family's secret magic in Rain's eyes, the ultimate power to see through everything. Using that at 16 is insane, and Kyle wonders what kind of monster he is looking at. In that exact moment, Rain finishes mapping out every single monster hiding inside the giant labyrinth. He uses magic to link them up, and the professor watches in total shock as Logan winds up for a punch. Rain gives Logan the signal to attack, and the next second, he slams his fist into the ground with world-shattering power. Covering her face from the debris, Krista yells that they just blocked the only way in. Kyle realizes that considering how strong that punch was, the impact on the surface seems way too small. Looking closer, he sees that Rain has not let go of his high-level spell for a second. Cracks spread deep into the maze, and Rain smiles as every single monster gets crushed instantly. Massive earthquake causes everyone nearby to lose their balance and fall over. Trust me, Krista has no clue what just hit her. Alright, you and I are diving into a moment that just broke the scale. Did an earthquake hit, or was that magic? Kyle brushes the dust off his clothes and asks his assistant if the labyrinth registered any kind of mana reaction. But the assistant starts panicking as he checks the data. Kyle looks on confused, reminding him they only have exactly 1 minute left. That is when the guy drops a bombshell. The labyrinth status shows that every single monster has already been wiped out. The professor is floored because it has not even been 60 seconds yet. Scratching his head, the assistant says this is impossible. Kyle asks why, and the guy says it is totally illogical. The test was for skill, but completely nuking the entire map goes against the point of the whole exam. Killing every monster feels like pure luck, so he thinks it should be invalid. Usually, an S rank means perfection. After thinking it over, Kyle tells his assistant that real geniuses are almost never what people call perfect. Perfection follows the world's ideals, but the geniuses who change history are the ones who shatter those very rules. True genius does not just fit into a box. If anything, they are the ones who create new standards. Xamer asks the professor what he really means by that. Kyle explains that Rain and Logan were far from the traditional path of perfection, then asks Zier if he had even considered destroying the whole labyrinth. The man says no, though he could if he wanted to. Kyle says that is exactly why this is special. Thinking outside the box and actually pulling off what no one else would, that is what matters most. It is all about having the brains to turn a totally insane idea into a physical reality. You and I should keep an eye on this kid, because the professor knows he is destined to become the center of the magic world. 40 minutes later, the test finally wraps up. Kyle tells everyone the results are being posted right now. In this brutal exam, the top students usually take around 30 minutes to reach the end. Plenty of applicants ended up totally drained or injured because they could not handle their own mana. Some students were forced to retake everything after getting hit 3 times, but Krista and Rumlow's team finished in a totally insane 4 minutes and 13 seconds. For them, getting an S rank made total sense. Logan and Rain finished in under a minute, which actually dropped the girls down to an A grade. Krista flashes back to when everyone was hyped about the Warden family's daughter using 2-star magic at only 6 years old. It was a massive deal because the Warden family was basically falling apart and needed a miracle to survive. But then the crowd stops caring about her and starts gossiping about what is going on with the Lewick family. People talk about the Prince of Disaster, saying they feel pity for him and his bad luck. But they also say it is not their problem and they are just glad he is not their kin. Krista always bullied Rain because he was unbothered by the rumors, but he never even blinked at her insults either. Surprisingly, right before the academy gates opened, Rain actually saved her. Even her tutor praised him for how incredibly fast he activated his magic. She could not stop wondering how he got this strong, since he seemed like a total weakling at family parties. The tutor was also curious about why he was there since the entrance exam had already started. Krista asks her teacher to just let the lateness slide, and Carolina asks since when she ever cared about others. And the girl admits that her teacher was right about one thing. Having him around was definitely going to heat things up, and maybe a little competition would be good for the school. Now pay attention, because she officially declares him her rival right before the test results completely crush her spirit. Her partner Rumlow walks up and thanks her, knowing he got a good grade because of her. Krista just stands there like a statue, wondering if she really just lost again. It hurts losing to someone who treats magic like a joke. She is mad she did not think to destroy the maze, but realizes she could not have even if she tried. Watching her, Kyle can tell she is incredibly competitive. He gets that feeling and thinks it is good, but in his head, he knows chasing Rain will be a very painful journey. With a sigh, he pushes up his glasses. He gathers everyone and explains that while normally only one team gets an S rank, the point gap created by Logan and Rain on one team was unfair. So, he announces that both teams will be receiving S rank grades. So what do you and I take from this? Rain walked up and called it a tie, but this is only the beginning. He goes for a handshake and she slaps it away. You and I are about to witness a total disaster. Krista snaps, asking if he really thinks she would be happy with this result. Rain is lost, they both got S rank, so what's the problem? She yells that it was just a pity grade and he should stop messing with her. Anxiety takes over. She begs everyone to stop staring before running away in tears. Rain calls out, but she is gone. He turns to Logan and wonders if he said something wrong. Logan says he's fine, but as a magic school student, these clan politics are a different world. Rain notices Logan is acting shady and calls him out for lying about what he knows. Logan repeats the rumors about the Warden family being finished, calling them a cursed magic clan. Rain is shocked and asks why anyone would say something so harsh. Logan explains that the glory of the Wardens is nothing but a distant memory. Before Krista was born, the family didn't even have enough power to be called a clan. She was the one who carried everything and brought them back to the top by herself. Now, pay attention here, this is the heavy burden she has been hiding from everyone. Deep in the woods, Krista is finally breaking down. Hearing him approach, she stands up. She says mages are supposed to be symbols of respect. People look at them with massive expectations, almost like they are gods to be worshipped. They can't be treated like garbage. But for Krista, all that pressure is just pure pain. She's given her whole life since age 6 to reach this level, and she still barely made it. Then some kid with no famous name stains her clan's honor by accepting a duel and acting like it's nothing. Rain is just too relaxed for her. She screams that she doesn't understand him at all. To him, magic is something you do for fun, but for her, this has never been a game. She summons a spell and demands an answer. Despite all her serious effort, his rank was higher. Rain calmly wipes away her sand summon attack. He says he loves magic, and seeing it work makes all the pain of training just disappear. Only people who truly work for it understand that feeling, but it's not just fun and games. Rain admits he has known his share of despair. Furious, Krista lunges at him with another summon. Blocking the blast, he notes she's the clan's hope, and clearly trained harder than anyone her age. He can't imagine how much she's suffered, but he notices one thing. This is the first time she has actually mastered that specific spell. Tears start streaming down her face when she hears those words. Krista looks furious, but the boy just keeps on talking to her. He tells her that all that misery wasn't her responsibility. She could have walked away, but she didn't. He summons a stone monster and asks why. Krista tells him to shut his mouth. He asks if it's because she can't forget the past. Okay, I know what you're thinking, she just blasted him. But this hit is about her emotions, not damage. In that moment, she remembers being a kid, just happy to beat a simple training dummy. Still standing, Rain says she is strong and nobody would ever dare look down on her again. As she bursts into tears, he tells her it's time to feel the joy of magic again. Wiping her eyes, she tells him to stop being so cool because it's seriously annoying. He says he's earned the right to brag since he won, leaving her with no comeback. Rain admits it's been a while since he felt this way. He holds out his hand to his rival. He had fun thanks to her and says he's counting on her for the next big test. That finally gets a smile out of her, even though she was crying just now. Turning red, She slaps him and tells him to stop acting cool. She runs off, warning him that next time she is going to crush his ego. Rubbing his sore face, our main character complains about how hard she can hit. Running away, Krista apologizes to her father, but her mind is finally made up on her path. Teacher Kyle explains to his assistant that talent shows up in many different ways. He says it can come from a motivation like classmates, a huge wall to overcome, or even a friend you can truly rely on. Watching the kids, he notes that things are about to get complicated from here on. Kyle is sure he made the right call. Trust me, you and I are in for one wild ride. All right, you and I are about to see things get intense, as he tells his assistant to summon the students. Back at Tayton, the students find out afternoon classes are canceled for the rest of the exam season. In the hallway, Logan asks why Rain is looking all swollen, but Rain just brushes it off. Rain switches gears and suggests hitting the training hall since they are free. Logan is shocked, asking if he is seriously not tired after that brutal exam. Rain pushes the door open, saying that is exactly why he needs work. But then, boom, there is Owen, happy they have got energy to spare. Pointing at a massive stack of papers, the teacher says he prepped 150 math questions for extra practice. Plus, there is a written test later, so nobody is going home until they are done. Dragged inside, Logan wonders how he even got roped into this mess. Acting all innocent, Owen tells Logan he can leave and stay away as long as he wants, which makes Logan change his mind real fast. The teacher calls over every student in sight, telling them they are all part of this now. Everyone complains about being exhausted, but the teacher just glares. As Rain grabs his stack of papers, he glances over at Krista. She looks like a total zombie, and the teacher mentions he thought she had actually left school early, but she showed up acting all hyped, so he gave her extra work. Now watch this. Krista loses it, screaming if he is messing with her. Owen says he is serious and warns her not to slack off, since this test directly affects her final grade. The students just will not stop whining about the exam. Meanwhile, the teacher calls them all primates and says one more word means they are getting kicked out of the room. Rain realizes this is an endurance test, to see if they can think while exhausted. But that many questions? Absolute madness. He has solved these types of problems a million times before. This really was just a test of pure stamina. Activating his Bell Sidious, he decides to cheat a bit. 10 minutes later, Rain announces that he is already finished. Owen is impressed by the speed and says if Rain is that confident, he should just turn it in and head home. Right then, someone asks if he is actually for real. You saw it too, it is Krista. He is totally drained and claims his score cannot beat hers if he is rushing. Rain just notes she looks like death warmed over. Owen snaps at her for talking during a test, so she quickly apologizes. Rain stands up and starts heading toward the exit, feeling quite relieved. He checks on Logan and sees the poor guy looks completely lost, not even close to finishing his paper. Closing the door, Rain thinks about hitting the shower. But the very next second, someone else walks out right behind him. A red-headed girl steps out, and she immediately catches Rain's eye. Her blazing red hair burned like a literal flame, and her eyes felt sharp enough to pierce through anything, despite the darkness within. This was his first encounter with Lillian Karen, the girl known as the top student after the War of the 8 Great Schools. Later on, Rain asks Logan if he knows who that red-headed girl is or anything about her background. Logan says he knows her and wonders why Rain is bringing her up out of the blue. Rain just shrugs while drying his face with a towel. Rain mentions her weird vibe in the hallway and asks what she is like. Suddenly, Logan gets a bit tense about the whole subject. After a moment, Logan admits the truth that girl is basically the Rivendell School's ultimate secret weapon. He adds that Lillian has been the center of some wild rumors ever since she first showed up at the academy. Rain remembers that Rivendell is famous for training the world's best fire specialists. Logan explains that her red hair is a clear sign she is blessed by flames, with a fire affinity that is off the charts. Because of that, she is the rival to the genius Krista Warden, and people across the 8 schools call her a monster. Even the elders think she could become a legendary arch. Rain asks if that is just an exaggeration, but Logan says the hype is totally real. She really is just that powerful. After a brief silence, Rain thanks him for the intel, and Logan takes a sip of water, glad he could help. Then Rain smirks, noting Logan knows quite a lot about her, and asks if he has got a massive crush on her. Logan spits his water everywhere as Rain teases that they would make a great couple and he is rooting for them. Logan asks if he is serious, and Rain just grins. Rain thinks about this secret weapon girl and realizes he is never going to get a single minute of peace at this academy. It is now day 4 of the exams at the start of Red Ridge. Boys stand before a massive barrier, noting it looks exactly like a powerful 4th star barrier. Zimmer explains the test happens in a fantasy world with 60 students split into 3 teams. You and I are about to see if they can survive what is inside that barrier. Dive in with me. We are starting a brutal battle royale exam. The students are baffled, but the board teachers explain the rules. Find a hidden treasure? That is 1 point added to your score. Plus, they will face magical illusion creatures. Take one down, and you earn even more points for your total. Higher difficulty means higher rewards, forcing everyone to make a choice, stand and fight, or run for their lives. Zier asks for questions, and Krista immediately raises her hand to get some clarity. He wonders if this is just a scavenger hunt for treasures and monsters, because it sounds a bit too simple. That is not a real battle royale, right? Well, the teacher admits she is partly right, but there is one more rule. Now watch this. Students can attack each other and steal everything: points, monsters, treasures, you name it. They can even take out their classmates for good. That brutal revelation leaves the entire room in a state of shock. Suddenly, the sharp tap of a cane echoes through the hall. It is Marina, and she has everyone's attention. She explains that because this world is built from pure magic, everything happening inside is just a complex illusion. Deadly attacks won't cause real injuries, but do not celebrate yet. You will still feel every bit of that agonizing pain. If you die or your body is destroyed, you just wake up in reality unharmed. So, her advice? Go all out and show no mercy. The teacher explains that the grading system is surprisingly simple. The 2 students with the highest scores get an S rank. No other requirements, just raw results. Hearing this, the more aggressive students realize this is just a green light to start beating everyone up for the top spot. Marina mentions that the creator of this magic believed a mage's duty was to let people dream in this world, and skill is what makes that happen. In the realm of magic, power and future success belong only to the best of the best. It is time to prove their worth. She starts calling out the groups, with Team A consisting of Hubert, Logan, and Krista. Pleased with her teammates, Krista remarks that she finally has a test worth taking seriously. Rain overhears and roasts her, asking if she was joking before, especially since she cried after her last loss. Totally embarrassed, she plays dumb and demands to know who told him that. Gertrude just watches and smiles at the drama. Krista tells Rain to focus and earn that S rank, because she is the only one worthy of taking his spot. She refuses to accept him losing to anyone else besides her. Boys keep laughing, which just fuels her rage. Then, Zur announces that the test for Team A is starting. Now, for Team B. Let's see how Gertrude, Lillian, and Rain handle this. Gertrude is visibly shaking with nerves at the gate. Rain notices her trembling and asks if she is nervous, which completely catches her off guard. She snaps back, denying everything and telling him he is the one who should be scared. Our main character just asks why he would be. She says it is obvious if he tries anything funny while they are teammates, she will end him right then and there. Rain just waves his hand and smiles, promising that nothing like that will happen. Rain turns to the girl behind him and asks the redhead what she wants, since she has been lurking there forever. She has something to discuss and asks if he has time. Rain says he is down if the topic is actually interesting. Meanwhile, Krista's golem is absolutely wrecking a giant octopus. A notification pings she is already at 280 points, but she thinks that is not enough. While wondering about Rain's score, she senses movement in the bushes. She snaps her fingers, summoning sand warriors to capture the girls trying to ambush her. Krista asks if they really thought a ganging up on her would work. The girls instantly fold and start begging for their lives. Krista simply lets them go, and as the terrified girls scramble away into the forest, she mutters that they aren't worth the points. Next time, they better bring a fair fight to her. Outside, people are impressed that someone so young can control 2-star spells so easily. They also mention Hubert, who reached 253 points with Wind Magic. Logan is in 3rd place with 249 points. He is absolutely demolishing everything in his path. He might be rough, but that raw strength is no joke at all. Professor Kyle notes that these 3 are dominating as expected, and Zamar agrees there is something special about their power. Arna claims they are just the opening act, while Ellen watches closely, looking like she is waiting for a real show. Back with Rain, Lillian says she has never lost before, leaving our hero totally confused by what she actually means. She explains that if she loses now, a brutal punishment awaits her. And trust me, you and I need to know, why did Rain hide his power? Let's check out a protagonist who claims he never hid his power. He just had zero reason to use it. Lillian chimes in, saying he's obviously some elite young master from a high-status family. Gertrude is confused why a noble girl would call Rain young master if she's elite too. Lillian just scoffs, asking what a prestigious family even means. She says she doesn't deserve a fancy title. To her family, she's nothing more than a tool. Rain is confused, but she explains she wasn't born out of love. She was literally manufactured by her family for a single purpose. Her father, Deedon, the headmaster of Rivel's school, kept her locked in a tiny room since childhood. She was forced to learn magic 24/7 and never allowed outside. If her grades ever slipped, her father would beat her until she literally passed out from the pain. Her father would even torture her mother right in front of her. Hearing this absolutely freaks Gertrude out. She adds that since her dad was a fire master, he knew exactly how to inflict pain without leaving a single scar. Rain realizes how brutal her world is compared to the academy. He wonders if her father would hurt her again after graduation. But she's cold as ice, saying she'd personally send him to hell if he even tried it. Gertrude realizes her father is a 4-star mage. She wonders if this girl can actually take down someone that powerful. Walking past, Lillian reveals her master plan. Graduate from Delayan with perfect grades and move on. Now pay attention here, she's issuing a final warning to everyone to stay out of her way. This gets intense. The pink-haired girl finds it all interesting, but tells Lillian she should just quit. She's attending the same school as Krista, a literal genius recognized by the whole world. Lillian isn't bothered at all. She says Krista Warden is basically just an aunt to her. That sets Gertrude off. She gets in Lillian's face, demanding to know if she really just called Krista an aunt. Keeping her cool, Lillian just smirks and asks if she said anything wrong. Rain jumps in, saying he understands why Lillian is so desperate. He tries to get Gertrude to chill for a second. Lillian gives one final silent look as she walks away. Our main character says he's not losing that top spot. He's got a friend waiting for him at the finish line. The crimson-haired girl says she already explained her reasons and gave her warning. But if he keeps insisting on standing in her way, she'll have to eliminate him. Right then, the speakers announce that Group A's exam is finally over. Krista and Hubert scored 361 and 338, both earning S rank. Gertrude greets them with a fresh towel. A totally exhausted Krista jokes that the whole thing just felt like a light morning run. Once the first group is done, Kyle says it's time for Team B. Rain starts weighing his options on where to begin. Mountains E and F are massive, packed with monsters and loot, making them the most popular choices. Zones B and C cover the mountain peaks. Great visibility, but a huge risk of getting jumped by other students. Forest zones D and E are perfect for stealth, but keeping a lookout is tough and scoring points is a nightmare. As for Rain, he's already locked in on a specific spot that fits his secret plan perfectly. They're told to confirm their starting points. Krista tells Gertrude it's her turn, and Gertrude is ready to crush it. Just before she goes, Krista tells her to give it everything she's got. Gertrude flashes a smile and disappears in a bright burst of teleportation light. Transfer is complete, and the test is live. Caroline tells Ellen it's Rain's turn. Yulan goes over the three main criteria: mobility, intel gathering, and pure combat skill. You and I both know the drill. Rain is about to leave everyone speechless during this exam. Lillian heads for Area F, just like Krista did. Everyone notices how insanely confident she looks. It's the most dangerous zone, but high risk means huge points. Plus, it's easy to move into other areas. Compared to her, Zigger points out that Rain's area is pretty modest. It's a safe, steady way to get points without many fights. Carol thinks it might actually be a smart move. Caroline's bored because she wanted to see the kid face Lillian in Area F. Ellen asks if watching him is really that dull. The kid can take down top-tier mages but still acts like this. Suddenly, Rain runs into a girl in the forest. Everyone gets hyped because he finally found a fight. What's he going to do? They're all curious what an S rank can really do. But he's about to shock everyone, including the girl he's facing. So yeah, you and I just saw a legend in the making, or at least a legend at running away. All right, you and I are about to watch Caroline lose it while Ellen literally falls off her chair. Seeing him run, his aunt is furious, screaming about him abandoning a fight halfway through. Krista just crosses her arms, wondering if the boy even cares about his S-rank evaluation. One teacher laughs out loud, calling Sai's grandson the weirdest kid he's ever seen. Zigger asks if it's really the time for jokes, but the teacher doesn't care. Things just got way more interesting. Marina realizes the boy is actually saving his energy, like he's prepping for something massive. She wonders how he'll recover his lost points. 40 minutes in, and compared to Keen A, the top scores are solid. Over in the stands, the crowd is buzzing, trying to figure out who's currently holding the lead. Just then, one boy holds a jewel, but it vanishes instantly. He looks back and sees Gertrude, the rank 1, holding it. Caroline sighs, thinking that stealing treasures is exactly the kind of move Gertrude would make. Suddenly, a monster tries to ambush Gertrude from behind, but she shuts it down in a heartbeat. Caroline knows Gertrude usually hides in Krista's shadow, but there's no denying she's a top-tier mage. Carol asks about Lillian's rank, and Zigger realizes she's not even in the top 20. Actually, she's dead last with 0 points. She's been meditating since the exam started, leaving everyone wondering what her actual game plan is. Meanwhile, Krista's on the hunt, nailing a lizard monster with a perfectly aimed fireball. Stick with me, because this is where she bumps into Lillian, who's standing there like a statue, totally ignoring her. Zigger thinks she just doesn't care. As for Rain, he's sitting at 13th place, only taking on monsters when it's absolutely necessary. It's honestly insane he's gotten this far just by looting treasures. Right now, he's navigating the mountains in Zone C. Carolyn notes he moves through the rocky terrain like he spent his whole life in the mountains. Ellen jokes he must have been a monkey in a past life, but his slow pace has her questioning his strategy. Suddenly, rain begins to fall. The students are happy, but this weather is actually perfect for monsters with sharp hearing. The real hunt is starting. Right on cue, massive fireballs light up the sky over a distant mountain. It's Lillian. She's finally ready to move. Still meditating, she commands the fireballs to track down the top 10 players. A volcano erupts behind her as she gathers massive amounts of aura for her next move. She walks forward, announcing the real game starts now. Suddenly, students get a warning to evacuate the volcanic zone. This battle royale isn't the kind of test where you can just hide and hope to survive. With the eruptions, safe zones keep shifting, forcing all the students to eventually clash head-on. Some hooded figures notice the lead group is finally picking up some serious momentum. Logan claims they lost their rhythm, while Krista argues they just don't have enough finesse. Suddenly, one figure tells them to hold on. They've spotted someone moving at a terrifyingly high speed. You saw that too, right? It's Rain Lewick, and his score is absolutely skyrocketing out of nowhere. Marhenna demands a camera on him. When the feed clicks on, he's standing among stone spikes, surrounded by a mountain of dead monsters. Ellen's tense because the boy is finally making his move. Deep in a cave, water drips into a pool. A monster drinks, hears a fight, and charges. Meanwhile, Rain's ranking starts dropping like a timed countdown. Beretta finds him fascinating, but Logan is losing his mind trying to figure out the kid's logic. Krista explains the trick: he's using vibrations to lure every monster in the area directly to him. Logan is still confused, but Krista realizes this was Rain's master plan from the very beginning. He barely dodges a lethal claw. As the monsters swarm him, he decides it's time. He activates a magic circle and slams a spell into the earth. Boom! He skewers every single monster at once. Krista and Logan can't believe he's using trees to wipe them out. Kyle points out there shouldn't be trees there, meaning Rain must have set this trap up ages ago. One observer checks the points and sees his hunting score is already blasted past 164. Caroline's breaking a sweat, shocked he's casting 3-star magic that fast while surrounded by a horde. Trust me, Ellen is loving this, bragging that her nephew is just getting started. With over 360 points, he's officially rank 1. After gathering his aura, he starts to leave, deciding that's enough points for one day. Kyle realizes the entire battlefield is basically submerged in lava at this point. Most treasures and monsters are gone, meaning Gertrude has zero chance of catching him. Then, Zigger calls him over. All right, you and I are jumping into a mystery where names are vanishing from the ranks, and Kyle says it is impossible for this to be a bug. Zigger shows him the screen, and the teacher realizes this is no joke. Kyle knows something is very wrong. Even if they lost their ranks, top 10 or even top 20 students do not just disappear like this. He orders the staff to pull the footage of the 30th and 40th place students from just 3 minutes ago. The screen flickers to life, showing a massive fire spell absolutely incinerating one of the students. The teachers are totally losing it. Then there is the second student she tries to block, but a follow-up spell wipes her out before she can even finish a curse. Pure terror hits the faculty as Rain walks through the storm, ready to hunt down every single student left on that list. If she takes out the top 2, this entire game is over. Caroline and Ellen admit she is insanely strong, but Marhenna knows that her ruthless personality makes her even more dangerous. Looking at the board, Gertrude cannot believe Rain already passed her. She sees Lillian right behind her just as the 20th and 30th ranks vanish. Then, a literal firebird comes screaming toward her face. The explosion completely shatters the tree she is standing on. Trust me, you and I need to watch this. She barely escapes the blast, only for another spell to lock onto her position. The impact is brutal, and even Krista starts getting nervous. Lillian walks up calmly, and there is not even a speck of ash left. Suddenly, Gertrude strikes back with a kick, and the two clash in a spectacular storm of water and fire. Krista is loving this a perfectly fair showdown. Lillian asks if she should finally get serious, but Gertrude says it is way too late for second thoughts now. The redhead tosses a leaf, deciding it is time to switch up her entire approach. She summons a massive firebird, forcing Gertrude into a desperate defensive struggle. Gertrude thinks she has the lead, but Lillian just snaps her necklace, sending spheres flying everywhere. Krista realizes those are rosary beads, a surprising move for Lillian. Rivendell Academy mages are legendary for using talismans to prep their magic circles instantly. She is calculating scripts at light speed to maximize her power, suddenly surrounding Gertrude with a swarm of glowing flame insects. Lillian clenches her fist, commanding the swarm to strike. The fire insects dive in, but Gertrude slams back with her water magic. Okay, look at this. An explosion rocks the forest, and just as Lillian thinks it is over, Gertrude bursts through the smoke with a kick, but Lillian dodges perfectly. She has another talisman ready. Lillian calls it the end, but Gertrude literally launches a whole tree at her. Krista cheers as Gertrude charges straight through the fire blasts, using her water magic to launch herself high into the air for a massive flying kick. Lillian barely dodges, and Gertrude craters into the ground with insane force. Even mid-air, Lillian is already prepping her next talisman attack. Ellen thinks Gertrude is a sitting duck, but just when everything seems over, Gertrude creates a complex magic circle on the grass. Lillian is caught off guard as a massive geyser erupts right beneath her feet. I is impressed she had been setting up that water vein since the very start of the match. Just as you would expect from the Fenton family legacy, she is using her water, magic, and martial arts like a pro. Lillian definitely picked the wrong opponent, and now she is pinned down. Gertrude tells her to learn her place, promising to crush her arrogant pride if she ever tries to challenge a lady like her again. Krista celebrates while Gertrude points out that Lillian's clothes are soaked, meaning her paper talismans are now completely useless. She gives her one chance to surrender before she snaps her arm like a twig. Lillian just smiles, calling her naive because if she were the one in Gertrude's shoes, she would have ended her life already. Gertrude's gaze goes cold. She is doing this the hard way. Without a second thought, she breaks the arm. But Lillian just lies there, explaining that talismans were never her true limit. You and I aren't ready with a talisman on her tongue. Her real power finally awakens. All right, you and I are watching Lillian lose control as light spills out of her mouth. Gertrude stumbles back in fear while Lillian rises, surrounded by a swarm of deadly fire insects. She fuses them into a blinding light, leaving Gertrude completely vulnerable and unable to see. Suddenly, those insects transform into a massive fire serpent. With a cold wave, Lillian orders the beast to devour her target. Gertrude is stunned, wondering how this level of magic is even possible during a school exam. This is the Fire Serpent, the absolute peak summon of Ruindel's elite magic academy. Legend says it was the founder Kareen's personal beast, and it is notoriously picky about who it actually chooses as a master. Even now, it's only at 30% power since it hasn't fully manifested its physical form. Ellen can't believe it's summoning something this massive at only 16 years old is just plain cheating. Krista's shaking, wondering if they can even win, while Gertrude admits that is their biggest problem right now. Massive Serpent lets out an earth-shattering roar before spitting a deadly blast of flames. Now pay attention to this. Gertrude barely dodges, but the heat is so intense, it turns solid stone into ash. The ground didn't just melt, it was completely erased from existence. Students finally realize they're dealing with a monster's real power as another massive explosion rocks the forest nearby. Deep in the woods, the stray fire blast hits a monster chasing another girl. The observers watch carefully. Gertrude has been officially marked, and it's clear Lillian isn't planning on showing any mercy today. Digger asks Kyle if she's crossing the line, worried the girl might actually die out there. The pain would be unbearable, and a hit from those flames could leave her traumatized for life. He suggests stopping the test immediately, and Morena agrees it is the right call before things get truly out of hand. But then, she spots Rain hiding in a tree right above the burning forest. Back during training, his grandfather warned him that his current mana capacity only allowed for 3 uses of his special ability. Interfering with high-level mages would drain him faster, and his grandfather warned that forcing it would leave him totally unconscious. In other words, he had to time his interference perfectly, or it's game over. Back in the present, Rain just calmly observes the chaos from the treetops. He's already got enough points to pass, so he's looking for a safe exit since his mana is low. Risking his life makes no sense right now, but he can't help feeling bad for the girl. Okay, I know what you're thinking, and yeah, he can't just stand by. He jumps, activating Belidius. As he falls, he analyzes the 5 runes in her magic circle, set up to detect anyone approaching while he studies her magic. His eyes are literally bleeding from the strain of pushing past his limits again after that brutal fight with Logan. The stronger the enemy, the faster his magic control evolves. He's rapidly approaching 6-star magic, realizing Lillian's attack was actually meant for him all along. In the next heartbeat, he completely dispels the massive fire serpent. Everyone's jaw drops. Even Gertrude stands there frozen, barely realizing her clothes are still on fire. Lillian panics as her beast vanishes. Saving competitors gives 0 points, which makes his move totally insane. But little did they know, this test secretly judges whether students will actually risk themselves for others beyond their own goals. Morena watches the boy closely, wondering if this was part of the plan. She knows he'll score big. Meanwhile, Rain coughs up blood. Canceling a 5-star spell was brutal. The job was done, but he felt completely drained, like a bone-dry container. Gertrude stares up from the ground and calls out his name. He tells her to get moving and run while Lillian stands there with her mind racing. She realizes she doesn't have enough mana for another massive summon. That Fenton magic is just too demanding. She's furious that he destroyed her serpent and wonders if he can still fight. She starts walking toward him. If he's truly defenseless now, she has to crush him immediately to secure her spot as the #1 student. She summons another fire serpent, but the observers notice it's much smaller and weaker than the first one. Rain dodges. Trust me, you and I know this isn't over yet. Stick with me, you are about to see how this academy chaos gets absolutely insane. Ellen yells a warning just as Gertrude ambushes Lillian from behind. Lillian spins around but takes a magic charge punch straight to the gut. She goes flying, desperately using her magic to soften the impact. Rain is completely stunned. He never expected the girl would actually come back to save his life. When he asks why, Gertrude says she is his opponent, and if he got kicked out, her Lady Krista would literally die of sadness. Watching from outside, Krista turns red as a tomato while people whisper. She frantically tries to explain they are only rivals. Feeling the tension, Logan just gives a thumbs up, making Krista snap and ask if he wants to die. He tells her they look great together, and losing her cool, she delivers a massive slap right across his face. Logan hits the dirt. Embarrassed, Krista vows that once this exam is over, she is going to end Gertrude's entire life. Still, she realizes Rain is the only one who actually stopped that fire serpent. They say if you master the Lig bloodline magic, you gain total control over all elements. But in over 1,000 years of history, only 3 legendary people have ever reached that godly level. And even then, they only achieved it when they were already old and broken by many battles. Gertrude tells the boy to get lost because this fight is strictly between her and Lillian now. Rain points out she is badly injured, but she insists she is fine. She needs to finish Lillian and says he was just in the way. Before he leaves, Rain tells her not to die. Gertrude just scoffs obviously. She has no plans on going out yet. Lillian approaches while spitting blood, telling her to move. Gertrude just laughs at the sheer audacity. Lillian is the one who started this mess, but now she is demanding a clear path. She says all obstacles must be erased. She lunges forward with her tongue out, looking like she's completely fused with that serpent spirit's power. Now watch closely, this is where the survival game truly begins. Gertrude moves like calm waves during a brutal clash, while Rain barely dodges an ambush in the deep forest. Zigger asks what that thing was. Rain realizes a group of low-level students teamed up to ambush him right now. He is totally drained of mana and physical strength, which is an absolute disaster. Smiling through the pain, he says that in the end, they are nothing more than bottom-tier students. He asks if they really think they can beat him when even Logan failed. If they back off now, he will let them go. One boy agrees that Rain is strong, but then he asks why someone that powerful would even bother trying to negotiate with them. Summoning a lightning spell, one of the desperate students charges straight at Rain. Rain blocks with his staff as they engage in a desperate struggle. The guy yells that Rain is clearly exhausted and should just give up and go home right now. With a heavy sigh, Ellen says there are always vultures like this no matter where you go in life. Caroline tells Ellen not to be so harsh after all. It is just a smart strategy. The enemy's weapon snaps in half, making Rain realize he cannot underestimate these low rankers when his back is against the wall. Rain gets knocked down, and just as he is about to be blasted by the student's lightning spell, you and I both know a cornered protagonist is dangerous. He kicks up sand to blind his enemy and lands a heavy punch right to his face. The other students start panicking. One guy wonders how Rain even knows the advanced techniques from the Aureus fighting style. Ellen admits she was curious about that too. The observers notice the enemy is helpless against Rain's fast 3-star magic calculations and his perfect mastery of the Aureus style. His skills are flawless, but his mana control is still shaky. Krista is definitely still ahead of him. One boy points out that Rain took out their friend without even using a single drop of magic. Still, since Rain looks totally spent, they think they have a chance. Illa knows stopping that fire serpent drained all his mana. The boys decide to attack in waves. Ara thinks helping others is noble, but without strength, it is just a meaningless gesture. She wonders what he is planning to do next. Our protagonist stands his ground against the boys with the tiny bit of strength he has left. He throws an electric punch, shocking all the students rushing him. The teachers watching are absolutely blown away by this. Zigger asks when he even cast that spell and how he could possibly have any mana left. Hal explains that Rain is actually out of mana, that power came from the lightning sword's own natural attribute. He held it in a plasma state, and the moment they touched the wet ground, he released the shock. But pulling that off is incredible. Honestly, Kyle says the boy looks like a very experienced fighter. Trust me, you and I are about to see if he has any tricks left. One boy says he is done, and tells the others to attack while they still have the chance. Stick with me, you and I are about to watch a brutal academy showdown begin. This bully thinks he can take Rain alone using a mud spell that buffs his physical stats. Too bad it is a trash skill for team fights that relies on brute strength. Now, covered in that hardened mud, the bully tells Rain to just hand over those points so everyone can walk away, but Rain rejects him instantly. Guy lunges, screaming that Rain must think he is joking, and swears to tear him to pieces while our hero just sighs. But the moment he looks up, Rain is already standing right in front of him, preparing to drive his staff into the guy. He lands a heavy staff blow, then adds lightning for maximum damage. As he shoves him back, Rain explains the Ozarius staff style was created by the master by his side, so do not underestimate it. The bully is in shock, realizing his stomach is burning from that last devastating attack. He wonders if Rain was really tired, then realizes the kid is at his limit. He knows failing means getting a guaranteed F rank. Teachers are watching closely because they judge the process, not just the results. These boys did not just lose points, they lost to a guy with 0 mana. Being a laughingstock is one thing, but he might actually get expelled. Rain says if he survives, he might get a decent rank depending on the dropouts. Behind him, the fight between Lillian and Gertrude gets way more intense. With those two powerhouses clashing, the whole area is about to turn into rubble. The exam is almost over, and he is not joining that chaos. He tells the guy to pick his fate, settle for a B rank or get expelled. Now pay attention, because Rain is giving him a choice. Sweating. A B rank sounds actually okay. Then he changes his mind, refusing to quit like some kind of idiot. It was obvious the kid had nothing left. Rain used everything on that last hit, so his points were basically free. He stands up, wondering why he's hesitating on a chance this good. It is victory or expulsion, and he is sure he can win. Right as he rushes, Rain gives him a deadly look and drops a final electric shot. Suddenly, the exam ends and everyone has to leave the barrier. Rain celebrates quickly, then passes out from pure exhaustion. The big guy finally smiles. The teachers notice something odd while the students talk in the lobby. Lillian and Gertrude will not stop, which might cost them their grades. You saw that too, right? These girls have completely lost their minds in this battle. Mara sighs about dealing with kids and taps her staff to drop the barrier. Two girls finally snap back. Marhenna grumbles about skilled kids still acting like children during a test. They're told to leave as Gertrude sees her wounds have vanished. It was all just barrier magic. Gertrude stares at Lillian as Marina screams at them to get out, wondering how many times she has to repeat herself. The students head back as the staff discusses resetting the barrier for the Group C exam. Back in the lobby, Lillian demands to know what he did to Yomang. He acts clueless, making her scream to be serious. Rain tells her to answer his question first regarding her father. He is ready to fight, but Rain says they are actually similar. He tells her they are alike because she crushed everyone for her father. Trust me, you and I are in for some drama. All right, you and I are about to see how she burns everyone for her goals, which is exactly like her father. But if that is the life she really wants, then nothing he says is going to change her mind. Then the girl claims she beat the fire creature. Rain warns her that if she keeps acting this way, they are going to clash soon, and he will show her the right path. Trust me, she better be ready. Furious, she snaps back. What does he know? He was born into a perfect family with everything. At the meeting spot, Logan and Krista are waiting. Gertrude asks with a smile if she is ready. Embarrassed, Krista smacks her on the head. She is ready, but says the girl just blurts out whatever trash comes to mind. Rain asks Logan what the deal is, but Logan says it is no big deal. Krista was mortified with everyone watching, and Gertrude agrees, so Krista is going to shut that loud mouth for good. Grabbing the girl by her collar, Krista looks at Rain and asks why he was messing around earlier. Our main guy plays it cool, but Krista tells him to stop acting. He saved Gertrude from that snake. He just asks how that is even possible. Maybe Lillian's magic just ran out at the perfect time? Krista reluctantly agrees. She turns to Gertrude, saying the girl deserves some serious punishment. Rain is walking away with a huge grin. Logan asks what he is laughing about. Rain says it is just hilarious. If he hadn't come here, he never would have experienced something like this. Logan notes that Delatan is definitely different. Rain says that is true sometimes, leaving Logan totally lost. Rain realizes if Esther hadn't left that letter, or if the top student didn't get that special meeting, he'd be nowhere. It turns out Esther was actually right. This world really is something else. Gertrude watches Krista approach Lillian. Standing before Lillian, Krista mentions the interesting thing she did with her servant. Lillian is completely confused. Krista warns her to be ready. The Warden family pays back every debt 100 times over. Back at the academy, the students are totally dead, but the exams do not stop for anyone. On the night of the 4th day, they face the written test. Now, pay attention, because day 5 was pure hell, something way worse than any battle royale. And just like that, the crazy midterm exams finally come to an end. The results are in. Ziegler announces 4 students hit rank S in everything: Krista, Nora, Keaton, and Rain Luig, but there is only one first place. So, they are moving to a bonus point evaluation. To keep it fair, any teacher with personal ties is out. Regular teachers get 1 bonus point. Professor Kyle has 2, and in Marhenna's case, she gets to give 3 points total. One teacher says if they look at her score, the evaluation makes sense. Another argues that is not the point. Nora's talent is more exceptional. Caroline jokes about being buttered up. Time flies as they argue, and Ziegler says they should check the current scores. Krista is leading with 6 points, followed by Nora at 4, Keaton at 3, and Rain with 2. Now he asks for Luke's vote. Luke admits Krista really is perfect. Nora's precision is impressive, and Keaton's mix of music and magic is honestly incredible. But for the future of magic, he's making a different choice. Ziegler is shocked by the paper. The one who got those 2 critical votes was Rain Luig. Everyone is stunned. Teachers realize he is on another level, but Krista still leads. The final vote is Marhenna, who never gives points. It looks like Krista will be the student of the year. Mara suddenly breaks into a smile and starts laughing. She talks about the future of magic, saying the guy with the smooth tongue really knows how to talk. Luke says it is all thanks to his master's teachings. She agrees and floats a paper, investing her vote in the future. She signs the paper, leaving the other teachers completely freaked out. Ziegler is speechless. The paper says the best freshman for midterms this year is Rain Luig, and trust me, our main guy is just getting started. Unreal. Prudence says he can keep researching his unique magic here, bumping his progress up by 0.8%. Rain wonders if magic only levels through fighting. Stick with me. We are about to see him head out to face the unknown. Flashback time. Frida chugs a magic potion and tosses the bottle until Kyle shows up asking for a sip himself. He's totally out, though. She says she's been awake for 4 days straight and polished off every single drop of that stash. He just grumbles and warns Lynn. After the journey, she asks why he never visits her sanctuary way up on the peaks of Red Mountain. She mentions a legendary elixir called Dragon's Breath, an amazing drink that would have sent his mana levels shooting straight through the roof. Kyle asks if she can just give away something that rare. Freddy's like, "Who do you think I am exactly?" She's the priestess serving the fire dragon, Dakadon, and she promised to treat him right if he visited Red Mountain. Rain mumbles that to himself. It was a gift prepared with care, so taking it was just the right thing to do. 300 years later, he hasn't forgotten. It is an 18-hour trek straight to the peak of Red Mountain. Since the fire dragon Dakadon stayed here for a millennium, mystical mana has literally soaked into the entire region. Believers and mages eventually turn this land into a sacred sanctuary. Rain keeps pushing upward, even though he's totally exhausted. Suddenly, a voice calls out. A man asks where he's going in such a rush, wondering if he's here to loot the mountain. Rain is on high alert with this sketchy guy, but the stranger tells him he doesn't need to be so defensive. He figures the kid has a reason to be here, and says he's just trying to offer a bit of friendly advice. Now listen closely, because this is where things get dangerous. Nobody who enters that abandoned mountain ever comes back alive. Trust me. Rain asks if it's because someone is hiding inside. While eating, the man mentions rumors of a demon, summoned by the priestess herself, that still guards the sanctuary. A demon guarding a sanctuary? It doesn't make sense to Rain at all. The man admits demon is just what people call it. Nobody knows what it really is. The guy says he almost died when he tried to climb the mountain himself once. One more step and he would have been done for. You and I both know Rain isn't stopping now. He just keeps going. As a final warning, the old guy says if he values his life, he should stay far away from the entrance. Rain thanks him and moves on. If a monster really is lurking in there, he knows he'll have to stay extra sharp. Night falls as Rain continues his ascent, hearing the sounds of wild animals echoing through the dark woods. He hates monsters like spider rats. Flashback again, Frey asks if this little guy is really supposed to be the party's mage. Esther thinks he's adorable, but Fred says even her bird is cuter, which Esther thinks is a totally unfair comparison. Rain asks why he's being compared to a pigeon, making an annoyed Freed snap back that it's actually a parrot. Rain wishes he could be like Pippi. After walking for a while, he finally reaches the temple, and man, it was exhausting. He's not sure where to begin his search, so he decides to check out the main temple entrance first. Even a temple built by a fire dragon can't survive the passage of time. It looks totally worn down and ancient. He stops to think. Everyone talked about a demon, but he can't sense any presence or killing intent in the area. The moment he steps through the gates, an intense, blinding glow suddenly erupts right above his head. Looking up, he spots something like a phoenix soaring over the temple. Then, the monster suddenly dives straight for him. Rain barely rolls away, but his papers are toast. He casts a spell, complaining about the absolutely terrible welcome he's getting. He throws up a wall and the bird slams into it full force. It screeches in pain before zooming away fast. Rain notices something weird about that screeching sound. Thinking back, he suddenly realizes those flames are actually his old bird, Pippi. The firebird blasts a jet of flame his way. While dodging, he remembers the time this bird burned his hair off. It shouldn't be possible after 300 years, but then again, in this world, maybe it actually is. Swallowing hard, Rain turns around and yells out to the bird, asking if it's really his old buddy, Pippi. He dodges another charge as the phoenix streaks past. Rain keeps screaming at it, telling the bird he's actually Ren. The bird suddenly snaps out of its rage and lands beside him. Rain confirms his identity, triggering the bird's old memories. He mentions their old rivalry over being the team mascot, but the bird says he looks different and doesn't recognize that face. Flying back into a total rage, the bird fires a massive blast of flames right at the kid. He blocks with a water shield, but even in this mess, you and I can see he's just happy Pippi is alive. Stick with me, our main character is desperately trying to prove he's still Ren, despite his new face. The bird isn't listening. It strikes again, forcing Rain to throw up a magic shield just to survive. Rain is panicking. There has to be a secret, something only the two of them would actually know. Now pay attention here, he finally remembers his secret and begins casting a powerful water spell. He blasts the bird back, then doubles down, manifesting 2 magic circles to unleash his real power. He forms a massive sphere of water, asking if it finally recognizes him as our crazy story ends for today. Drop a like if you're